or someone who had actually been there. Cruz denied ever making the so-called vision statement.
They made it. I didn't make it. They did.
Cruz's public defender said that the detectives did not tape record the alleged statement, did not take any notes, and did not even file a report. Nor did they follow up on this key piece of evidence the very next day when they were taping an interview with Cruz.
Common sense would tell you, though, that when they begin interviewing Rolando after the vision statement on tape, that they would say, hey, Rolando, forget about all that nonsense. What about what you told me?
And it was obvious to see, obvious that that vision statement was nothing more than two police officers perjuring themselves.
But convincing jurors the cops had lied was not an easy task.
With a DuPage County jury, unless you've really got the horses, you're not going to call a policeman a liar.
There were other witnesses Knight put on against Cruz and Hernandez.
Yeah, how
They
about
ranged
DNA
from prison
today?
inmates and guards to the defendant's own distant cousins. Each took the stand and told how Cruz and Hernandez had allegedly admitted their involvement in Janine Nicaraco's murder. Cruz watched as this parade of witnesses testified against him.
I don't know what to do. I don't know anything about the law. I don't know anything about attorneys. I don't know anything about what to speak up on, anything. So I just gotta sit there and just let it go through.
Many of the prosecution witnesses had criminal records. Some had abused drugs. Defense attorneys argued the witnesses were testifying for reward money or for reduced sentences. But the sheer number of statements against Cruz and Hernandez was piling up in the minds of jurors.
I put all the witnesses down, and I put check marks on, incriminating statements. And when I was done, I just took a look at one side of it, and there was a lot of check marks and incriminating statements.
The case against Stephen Buckley hinged on the boots he had handed over so willingly to police. The prosecution paid $1,000 a day to a forensic anthropologist who testified that Buckley, and only Buckley, could have kicked in the front door of the Nicaraco home.
The prosecution was spending, all their resources to get these guys convicted. It was absolutely essential. And they had absolutely no shame. They would put on any piece of evidence.
And according to the defense, would go to any lengths to hide evidence. 1 month before trial, defense attorney Johnson got a tip that a prior expert who examined Buckley's boots, a technician at the DuPage County Crime Lab, had ruled them out as a match. The sheriffs had actually retrieved the boots and instructed the technician not to file a report, a move that led the crime lab director to resign. Prosecutors never told the defense about that initial finding, a violation of Illinois law.
They got caught. We asked the judge to dismiss the case or for some sanction for what they did. The judge did nothing. Did nothing. And so they were able to continually get away with putting on tainted evidence, perjured testimony. I remember at a couple of points getting up and saying to the judge, when is this going to stop?
After deliberating for 2 days, the jury deadlocked on the charges against Buckley. But they found Rolando Cruz and Alex Hernandez guilty. It was February 22nd, 1985, almost 2 years to the day since the murder.
It was such a high-profile case. The need for conviction and the state's desire for conviction was obviously felt by the jury. I really do believe that the jury's attitude in that case was, give us something to hang our hats on and we'll give you the guilty verdict.
Even one juror who had some doubts about the guilt of Rolando Cruz finally gave in to the majority.
I didn't feel that I was going to be the one person that is going to say, I don't think any of them are guilty. I just couldn't do that. You sit for 7 weeks and you look at poor Tom and Pat and Carrico, and that's very tough.
The state planned to retry Stephen Buckley, but prosecutor Thomas Knight wanted a little help from Cruz.
The night before sentencing, they came to Page County Jail, asked me to testify against Stephen Buckley, and that they would, quote unquote, beg the judge to give me just natural life, but they couldn't promise. I told him he was stupid. I told him I didn't kill anybody. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I wasn't testifying against anybody.
The next day, the judge sentenced Cruz and Hernandez to die by lethal injection. They were transferred to the condemned unit of the Menard Correctional Facility in southern Illinois. Both were 21 years old. The Nicaragos, despite their agony over their daughter's death, took solace in believing that her killers would now be punished. The prosecutors believed they had closed the case.
They put him on death row, and I don't think they had a second thought about it until Brian Dugan showed up.
No.
27-year-old Brian Dugan turned up less than 3 months later when police arrested him for raping and murdering a 7-year-old girl.
Oh,
To
wow.
escape the death penalty, Dugan was willing to confess to that crime and several others. One of his
wow.
victims, he claimed, was Janine Nicaragua.
Oh, wow.
Rolando Cruz and Alex Hernandez had been on death row for the rape and murder of Janine Nicaragua less than 3 months when another man suddenly claimed responsibility. His name was Brian Dugan, a 27-year-old with a long record for sexual assault and burglary. Illinois State Police Commander Ed Sisowski was assigned to see if Dugan's statement about the Nicaragua murder was credible. He drove out to interview Dugan on November 16, 1985. Just a few hours earlier, Dugan had pleaded guilty to raping and murdering both 7-year-old Melissa Ackerman and
Oh, so they put the
27-year-old
real
Donna
fella.
Schnorr in exchange for life sentences.
Wow.
He apparently wanted to confess to the same crime against Janine Nicaragua because he was worried the truth would eventually come out and he would face execution. So Dugan's public defender wanted to cut one more deal, a full confession in exchange for a third life sentence. Dugan told Sisowski that on February 25, 1983, he had not shown up to his job at a label printing company. Instead, he got high on marijuana, and he spent the day driving around Naperville, stopping at an elderly woman's house for help when he had car trouble. A little while later, Dugan pulled up to 620 Clover Court.
He approached Nicaragua, I believe, to commit a burglary. He told me he could see Janine through the window in the front door. He spoke to her and said, "Can I borrow a screwdriver?" She said no. And he said, "Can I use your telephone?" And she said, "I can't let you use my telephone." He then said to me, "I knew she was alone."
Dugan said he kicked in the front door and chased Janine upstairs. He wrapped her in a bedsheet and blindfolded her with a towel. Dugan then drove Janine to the nature trail, where he said he raped her, hit her over the head with a tire iron, and fled.
I wasn't sure whether he was manipulating the system. He told me that he wanted to clear 3 people who were unjustly charged with the Nicaragua homicide.
By the time the police commander finished his investigation 1 month later, he found the evidence overwhelming that Dugan had killed Janine by himself. Timesheets confirmed Dugan had not shown up for work on February 25th, the day of Janine's abduction. An eyewitness from the church just down the road from the Nicaragos placed Dugan in the neighborhood. She had taken down his name when he stopped by around 1 p.m. to ask about a job. And tollway workers had seen a single white male driving a dark green sedan on the nature trail the day of the murder. Dugan's car matched the description, right down to the missing hubcap. Dugan passed a lie detector test, then repeated the same story under hypnosis. Experience told Commander Sisowski a lone offender like Dugan typically committed sex crimes, and he could never find anyone who linked Dugan to Rolando Cruz or Alex Hernandez. Sisowski submitted his report to the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office in December 1985. It was not welcome.
It was, for whatever reason, argued, resented, and not accepted.
By now, the DuPage County State's Attorney was Jim Ryan, who had defeated Michael Fitzsimmons in 1984.
We always examine the evidence at every juncture and re-examine it with every new development.
Prosecutors pointed out several inconsistencies in Dugan's story. He had failed to remember a 12-foot sailboat parked in the Nicaragos driveway. he had been mistaken about Janine's toenail polish, and he could not lead police to the house where he claimed to have stopped when he had car trouble.
The inconsistencies didn't bother me at all. We're talking about a crime that he committed, again, 33 months before I talked to him. He made mistakes, but he never changed his story.
The Nicaragos disagreed. They had gone over details with Sisowski several times during his investigation. They accused Sisowski of feeding Dugan information.
And if indeed he was consciously fed by somebody, that to me is horrendous, it's frightening, and it's worse than the crime of our daughter being killed.
The Illinois Attorney General's office now placed Sisowski himself under investigation for his handling of the case.
I just said to my wife, I said, that's it. Can't work with it. I'm not going to fight the system anymore. And she said that, if you don't fight for Cruz and Hernandez, who is? I said, okay, we'll go through this one more time.
But Ed Sisowski did not know that DuPage County prosecutors had already heard Dugan's statement 3 days before Sisowski ever had. They had written notes on what exactly Dugan did know about the crime. They never told Sisowski or turned over their notes, which might have shed new light on the case and cleared Sisowski of the charge that he had fed Dugan information. When Rolando Cruz learned about Brian Dugan's story, he treated the news with caution, skeptical that it alone would vindicate him.
Dugan was there, and, whatever, that wasn't, to me, that wasn't gonna help me prove my innocence. What was gonna help me prove my innocence was destroy their case.
Just as the case against Stephen Buckley had been destroyed. In March 1987, prosecutors dropped all charges against Buckley after a prestigious FBI expert concluded that his shoe could not have made the print on the Nicaraco front door. Cruz says he never lost hope that he too would one day walk free.
I knew I was innocent, so I didn't have to sit there and say, well, maybe I won't go home. Nothing like that. I knew I was innocent.
He would get another chance to prove it. In January 1988, the Illinois Supreme Court reversed the convictions of Cruz and Hernandez, ruling that the men had not received a fair trial because they had been tried together. So in January 1990, 5 years almost to the day after his first trial, Cruz stood trial again, this time in nearby Winnebago County. A well-respected private attorney, Jed Stone, represented Cruz for free at his second trial. His argument was simple.
Brian Dugan committed this crime. He committed it alone. He committed it by himself, just as he committed Schnorr, just as he committed Ackerman. He did this crime by himself.
Dugan's murders of Donna Schnorr and Melissa Ackerman showed striking similarities to Janine Nicaragos. Dugan had taken those victims to remote, natural settings where he sodomized and then killed them. But Judge Edward Cowell, the same judge who had presided over the first trial, did not allow the jury to hear those details. And though Dugan testified, he pleaded the Fifth Amendment on all questions about the Nicaraco case because DuPage County prosecutors refused to grant him immunity from the death penalty. The state once again built its case on witnesses who said Cruz had confessed to them, including a death row neighbor who had lied at his own trial and the so-called vision statement. The jury returned its verdict. For the second time in 5 years, Cruz was found guilty. Judge Cowell once again sentenced Cruz to die by lethal injection.
I believe that it's very appropriate under the statutes, very appropriate under the facts of the case. Yes, justice was served today.
Our daughter was not allowed to enjoy life that most normal children would. And but the people that did this should be punished for what they did.
In 1991, like Rolando Cruz, Alex Hernandez was once again convicted of the Nicaraco murder. Stephen Buckley's attorney, Gary Johnson, wrote a letter asking the judge to show leniency towards Hernandez.
I said, time is on the side of truth in this, and that the Nicaraco case will do to prosecutors what the Rodney King police beating tapes have done to the credibility of police officers.
The judge sentenced Hernandez to 80 years in prison, a punishment which Rolando Cruz considered worse than the death sentence he was facing.
If they were going to give me an option to spend the rest of my natural life in prison and kill me for something I didn't do, they might as well kill me for something I didn't do.
With Rolando Cruz facing execution once again for the rape and murder of Janine Nicarico, the machinery of American justice took its usual course. The verdict was automatically appealed to the Illinois Supreme Court. When Assistant Attorney General Mary Kenney was assigned to handle the appeal, she had no idea it would mean the end of her career as a prosecutor. Kenney's job was to defeat the death row appeal, but as a prosecutor, she knew she had a responsibility to make sure the defendant, Rolando Cruz, had gotten a fair trial.
My fascination with the criminal justice system has to do with how do we make this process fair? How do we ensure that the worst kind of mistake that there could be, the execution of an innocent man, doesn't happen?
Kenney thought that mistake was being made in the case of Rolando Cruz. She concluded he had not received a fair trial. Kenney believed the jury in the second trial should have been allowed to hear more about Brian Dugan's past crimes. Deeply troubled by her finding, Kenney went to her supervisor, hoping she could convince him to admit a terrible mistake had been made.
One of the responses I got from him is, what are we going to tell the Caricos about this?
Over Kenney's objections, Illinois Attorney General Roland Burris pressed on to affirm the death sentence. Kenney resigned in protest and made public a letter in which she begged Burris, do not help execute an innocent man. In December 1992, the Illinois Supreme Court upheld the conviction of Rolando Cruz 4-3 and set a date for execution.
Wow.
His appellate lawyers delivered the news to him.
I just looked at them and they started crying. I told them, what are you crying for? We know what we got to do. Let's do it. Let's go. That's it. And he looked at me and started laughing. He goes, how can you just be so calm about it? I'm not calm. I'm just determined to prove my innocence and go home.
Cruz would take one step closer to that goal a year and a half later when, responding to growing public pressure, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned his conviction, forcing DuPage County to put him on trial for yet a third time.
It was only after a request for reconsideration which led to, frankly, an outpouring of support in the form of what we lawyers call amicus curiae briefs from various law school professors, religious leaders, that led the court to agree to reconsider the case.
One of the people who paid close attention to that judgment was the attorney who was preparing to appeal the conviction of Alex Hernandez, Scott Turow. The noted author says that in 18 years of practicing law, he had never seen as many abuses committed by police and prosecutors as he did in the Nicarico case.
You can't take $10,000 and essentially say to somebody, make something up and then offer it in evidence against them. I mean, that's not the way we do things in this country. But that was what happened to Alex Hernandez.
In January 1995, Turow convinced an Illinois appellate court to overturn the conviction of Hernandez. Now he and Rolando Cruz would get one last chance to prove their innocence. Rolando's third trial began on October 24th, 1995. Where a lone public defender had originally defended Cruz, some of Chicago's finest lawyers defended him for free the third time around. The defense attorneys made a key decision early on. They took Rolando's fate out of a jury's hands and requested Judge Ronald Maley to rule on the case instead. On top of that, the evidence against Cruz was crumbling since his last trial in 1990. Dramatic advances had been made in DNA testing, and just weeks before trial, the premier expert in the country announced his findings.
And what this evidence showed, that there was only a 3/100th of 1% chance, a 3 in 10,000 chance, that what was found in Janine Nicarico would come from somebody other than Brian Dugan.
The DNA evidence forced prosecutors to concede that Brian Dugan was involved in Janine Nicarico's murder. This new twist now left the state struggling to explain what role Cruz played other than to suggest he had been at the Nicarico home to commit a burglary.
It was just a cloud of suspicion. It was, he may have done this, he may have done that. He may have been over there, or maybe he did it over there. We don't know. This is basically what they're saying. We don't know what he did. We just know he's involved.
DuPage County had another problem. They could no longer rely on the witnesses who had tied Cruz to Janine's murder so effectively in his first two trials.
There were witnesses that, for whatever reasons, changed their earlier testimony, or at least we discovered as the trial proceeded, they were changing their testimony. And of course, the inherent difficulties in presenting the case 12 years after the fact. Time takes its toll.
What the passage of time did in this case were certain younger men who were amoral or immoral and willing to come to court and lie against somebody were no longer willing to do that 8 years later.
There would be one more witness who would change his testimony. Sheriff's Lieutenant James Montezano had played a small but crucial role in the testimony of DuPage County Sheriff's detectives Dennis Kurzawa and Thomas Musgrove. The detectives claimed to have called Montezano at his suburban Chicago home for advice on the day of the infamous dream statement. During pretrial hearings, Montezano had corroborated the two detectives, but now he wanted to revise his story, and on November 3rd, the court recalled him as a witness.
Rolando and I were absolutely stunned. 12 years. Rolando Cruz said, oh my God, someone's finally going to come.
You know, we're going back, sitting down. And writing a note to my mom. Let me testify.
Montezano said he had checked his credit card receipts. He now realized he had been in Florida on the day of the so-called dream statement. Contrary to his prior testimony, he had never spoken to the detectives. Defense attorneys immediately requested the judge to throw out the case for lack of evidence. Judge Ronald Mailing took a 30-minute recess to consider. By the time he returned to the bench, court deputies had rolled out a security barrier, blocking off the spectator gallery. The judge held up Janine Nicarico's picture, calling her the most important person in the case. As the judge spoke, defense attorney Breen anticipated the ruling about to occur.
They turned to Rolando and they said, we're going home. And his legs started shaking. And just up and down, up and down, up and down. And his body began to shake. He began to cry. You could tell he was finally sinking. He was saying, my God, oh my God, oh my God. Finally, finally, finally.
Judge Mailing told the courtroom he could not recall a case in which more witnesses had changed their testimony. He called Lieutenant Montezano's admission that he had lied to the court unique in the annals of criminal justice. Then Mailing found Rolando Cruz not guilty.
He was whisked out of there literally, almost by the time we looked over to see where he was gone. He was released from the jail within 5 minutes of that. He had been met by his mother and sisters.
Even though their case against Rolando Cruz had fallen apart, DuPage County prosecutors promised it would not stop them from retrying the last remaining defendant, Alex Hernandez. But that was not a promise they would keep. In fact, the tables would soon be turned against the prosecutors themselves.
After spending 12 years in prison, nearly 10 of them on death row, Rolando Cruz was finally a free man on November 3rd, 1995.
So I was scared to go to sleep. So I didn't want to go to sleep and wake up and find out I was still in prison. And in the morning, went to get a newspaper at the store. People there, they were looking at the newspaper, they was him. They congratulated us.
5 days later at a Northwestern University law school, Cruz met the public for the first time since his release.
I don't understand what it's like to go from death row to being up here and free. But it's a big difference.
Like Rolando Cruz, Alex Hernandez would also find out how different freedom was. On December 8th, the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office dropped all charges. The 31-year-old Hernandez had spent nearly 12 years in prison, 3 of them on death row. With the acquittals of Cruz and Hernandez came angry charges of official misconduct. One of the targets was the man who had overseen the Nicaraco prosecutions, first as DuPage County State's Attorney, and then as Illinois Attorney General, Jim Ryan.
We relied on judges and juries and the Supreme Court to guide us in this case. We relied on the police investigation, and I relied on the experience of our prosecutors.
A year later, 3 of those prosecutors and 4 other DuPage County officials were indicted on charges they had lied and concealed evidence to convict Cruz.
There must always be a line between vigorous prosecution and official misconduct,
So what
between
happens?
advocacy and unfairness, between justice and injustice. This indictment charges that line was crossed.
Among those accused of crossing that line were former prosecutors Thomas Knight, Patrick King Jr., and Robert Calander, as well as sheriff's officers Dennis Kurzawa, Thomas Vosberg, and James Montezano. Janine's parents still believe that Rolando Cruz and Alex Hernandez killed their daughter. The Nicaracos have stood by DuPage County officials.
We're deeply sickened to see them and their families victimized by this slanderous ordeal, while the guilty are being made into some sort of heroes.
I wish Nicaragos would believe the truth. But like people have said over and over, it's easier to believe a lie than it is the truth.
In 2005, 16 years after DNA evidence linked Brian Dugan to the murder of Janine Nicaraco, he was finally charged with the crime. Prosecutors plan to seek the death penalty for the 1983 murder. Meanwhile, Dugan is serving out his 2 life sentences for murder. The man who spent a decade on death row for a crime Dugan confessed to has been adjusting to a life of freedom. Cruz was 19 years old when he entered prison, 32 years old when he got out.
If you can sort of envision losing 12 years of your life during the time of your life where you're basically, I mean, you're becoming an adult. You lost that. It was taken away from you.
Inside, they told me I'm pretty bad. A lot of pain. And it hurts. I mean, now, I don't even like being home alone. I start going crazy. I start thinking I'm in prison again. You know, so I just start walking around and find new things to do. Walk around the neighborhood and go back home.
In the euphoria of his release, Cruz tried his hand at studying the law, but found classes too demanding. He worked briefly at a gas station and took a job working as a counselor with disturbed children.
I'm still trying to figure out what's freedom, how to enjoy it. I mean, sometimes I'm happy, I start enjoying it, and other times I don't, because I don't know what it is. I've been trying to learn to live, trying to learn to be alive. I want to stop and laugh sometimes because I know Tom Knight and I wish that I would fail.
In the spring of 1999, the 3 sheriff's officers and 4 former prosecutors went on trial, charged with conspiring to frame Rolando Cruz. In June 1999, the DuPage 7, as they were called, were acquitted of all charges of misconduct. As the defendants celebrated, the jurors came back to congratulate, exchanging high fives and hugs. Since that time, all but one of the DuPage 7 have left public service. The exception, former prosecutor Robert Calante, who in 2001 became chief judge of the 18th Circuit Court in Illinois. As for Cruz, Alex Hernandez, Stephen Buckley, their civil suits were settled for a total of $3.5 million. In December 2002, Rolando Cruz's journey through the Illinois justice system finally came to a close after 2 decades, when outgoing Governor George Ryan granted him a full pardon.
This was supposed to go this way, and then he was supposed to go that way.
Somerset, Kentucky. There may still be a church on every corner and a truck in every driveway. But Shania Twain has replaced the Red Bill radio. The bootleggers have been replaced by drug dealers. And in the spring of 2002, Somerset seemed more like Miami than Mayberry, when a community picnic turned into a human shooting gallery. And the image of Sunset as a quaint country town was shattered forever.
Think about it as like a movie.
It's a very unique community. The last place you'd expect a burglary.
Saturday, April 13th, 2002, began as one of those Chamber of Commerce days. The sun was shining, kids were playing, and the fish were frying at Pulaski County's annual Fish Fry and Fire Department fire. Pulaski County Sheriff Sam Campbell spent most of the afternoon shaking hands and kissing babies in pursuit of his 5th consecutive term. But this campaign stop would be his last. As the sun began to slow descent into the Kentucky hills, a shot rang out. Seconds later, a motorcycle roared to life, and a shooter peeled down the woods road. When the dust settled, Somerset's beloved lawman was dead, and a posse was formed to hunt down one of its favorite sons. Most days in Pulaski County aren't nearly as exciting as the Saturday their sheriff was gunned down.
That pencil is not very good.
Nestled between the crystal waters of Lake Cumberland and the rolling hills of south central Kentucky. It's a rural working class town, but outwardly at least, still seems stuck in a simpler, quieter time. On Fountain Square, the Pulaski County Courthouse looks pretty much the same as when it was built back in 1874.
It's always just a little quiet, peaceful town. There's nothing here except the Fountain Square.
Of course, there's more to Somerset than a movie set town square.
Somerset is growing at a rapid pace. Right now, we have work starting on 27 to the 4-lane into Lexington.
Down Route
That's what memories we send forth.
Requisite rash of motels, fast food joints, and strip clubs. And there's more to come.
We're growing fast enough that we're becoming what most people around here would consider a bigger community, but we still have that rural atmosphere, small town Kentucky.
Somerset's still country. It's just been upgraded to country version 2.0. The new hangout is a Bob Evans franchise. It serves up corporate home cooking and focus group quaintness.
Phil, I'm receiving 500 million test kits.
Than the old general store.
The little small town, Saturday night get together on the square thing, that's over with.
Believe it or not, tourism is now the biggest growth industry in Somerset, thanks mostly to the calm, houseboat-friendly waters of Lake Cumberland.
The tourist industry for our region was up 41% over October of last year.
We see that can't even get him. Any custom. Chapter 1, Alien, Life, Deep Time, newspaper's too white. It's gonna. What is this
No, it's okay, Tesoro. It's damn it.
Just the thing. And then what is this? Teen girl killed by a stray bullet.
To Los Angeles now, where the city's police chief today called the
again.
shooting death of a 14-year-old girl absolutely heartbreaking. As CBS's Carter Evans reports, it happened when officers opened fire on a suspect inside a store.
The bizarre attack inside a Burlington coat factory began when security asked a man to leave the store, according to an employee who asked not to be identified.
And that's when it all escalated from there. He tried to start bringing the security, that he was going to start throwing items.
She told our Los Angeles station KCBS that she tried to help customers escape.
The suspect was waiting downstairs. I had a customer in front of me. He, when she was as soon as she reached down, he attacked her, hit her with the chain.
We are able to female victim as trauma.
They also received additional radio calls from multiple people indicating that there was a possible shooting in progress.
Investigators say when officers saw the suspect about to assault another person, they opened fire, killing him. They later found a bullet hole in the wall.
We went behind it. It turned out to be the dressing room.
Inside, 14-year-old Valentina
Oh
Oriana
my
Peral
God.
was dead from a gunshot wound. She was reportedly trying on quinceañera dresses with her mother.
Preliminarily, we believe that round was an officer's round.
Oh
No
my
gun was found on
God.
the suspect.
These are tragic and unfortunate sequence of events.
Why did the fucking
Now,
cop
LAPD
shoot?
policy is to release body camera video within 45 days of a police shooting. But in this case, the chief is now promising to release the video by Monday. Jamie?
So tragic.
God. Fucking guy didn't have a fucking gun. What are you doing shooting in the fucking store like that? Fucking innocent little girl.
For her sister and brother-in-law.
Motherfuckers, man.
They were gonna go for a day shopping. Lily and Alonzo.
You can't, like, you know. What the fuck, man? Like,
and started
why?
screaming inside the apartment.
Oh my God. This is
And they yelled out to
unacceptable.
Alonzo to kick the door in. As he's getting ready to kick it, this woman comes running out.
But why?
She was covered in blood when she ran.
I wanna know how the hell did this person get? How did this little girl get killed, man?
To Los Angeles now, where the city's police chief today called.
And he, when she was as soon as she reached down, he attacked her.
Oh, he
hit her with
attacked.
the chain.
Oh, with the
We
chain.
are able to female victim as trauma.
They also received additional radio calls from multiple people indicating that there was a possible shooting in progress.
Investigators say when officers saw the suspect about to assault another person, they opened fire, killing him. They later found a bullet hole in the wall.
We went behind it. It turned out to be the dressing room.
Inside, 14-year-old Valentina Oriana Peral
God.
was dead from a gunshot wound.
God.
She was reportedly trying on quinceañera dresses with her
Oh
mother.
my God.
Preliminarily, we believe that round was an officer's round.
No gun was found on the suspect.
These are tragic and unfortunate sequence of events.
Now,
It was a
LAPD
fucking
policy is
taser?
to
What the
release
fuck
body
happened to the
camera video
tasers,
within
man?
45 days of a police shooting. But in this case, the chief is now promising to release the video by Monday. Jamie?
So tragic. Carter, thank you.
Anna Mae Forbes was waiting for her sister and brother-in-law to pick her up. They were gonna go for a day of shopping. Lily and Alonzo went out to her apartment.
I really get pissed off when I
Anna started
speak to
screaming
kids,
inside the
man.
apartment.
Hurts me, man.
Anna Mae yells out to Alonzo
I don't
to
like
kick
that.
the door.
I really don't like that. So much violence.
To Los Angeles now, where the city's police.
Fucking violence. Violence and violence and violence. When is it gonna stop? When is this gonna stop? When is this gonna stop? People getting killed left and right.
Before we go to the next witness, I want to read two paragraphs from the Washington Post story that was just posted online. A congressional hearing to explore the spread of white nationalism on social media, meaning this hearing, quickly served to illustrate the problem Silicon Valley faces after anonymous users on YouTube began posting vitriolic attacks that targeted others on the basis of race and religion. The hearing held by the House Judiciary Committee was streamed live on the video site owned by Google, which is testifying Tuesday. Alongside the stream, a live chat featured posts from users, some of whom published anti-Semitic screeds and argued that white nationalism is not a form of racism. These Jews want to destroy all white nations, wrote, I won't put in the name. Anti-hate is a code word for anti-white, wrote another, etc. So this just illustrates part of the problem we're dealing with.
Could that be a hate hoax?
What?
Could that be another hate hoax? Just keep an open line.
All I know is what I just read. The gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I ask unanimous consent to include in the record a list of political violence perpetrated or promoted by leftist organizations.
Without objection.
Thank you. And I also, I'm riffing on something that Mr. Buck, gentleman from Colorado, was talking about. But in the listing of witnesses in the chairman's memo, it is something I have not seen in my brief time in Congress, or indeed in my many years of legislative service in my home state. That is an editorial comment about a witness. Some might even consider that this not so subtle editorializing is in of itself an indicia of animus. It's unfortunate, but it demonstrates how easy it is to let one's bias appear even in what is supposed to be an innocuous listing of witnesses for this hearing. Yes, I will yield, sir.
I assume you're referring to what is written about Candace Owens, where it says she's a director of communications of the conservative advocacy group Turning Point USA, and a conservative commentator and political activist known for her criticism of Black Lives Matter and of the Democratic Party. I don't think she could quarrel with the accuracy of that. It's a simple statement of who she is.
And reclaiming my time, what I will say about this is, you never ever see anybody characterized in any other list of witnesses. This is the first time I've ever seen that, other than the stating what they represent or the group that they are from. This is seemingly anyway, going beyond the bounds of what is the norm. That is an indication to me of how easy it is to demonstrate animus. So it means, for a logical question of Ms. Owens, which she's already addressed in some respect, is as you talk, Ms. Owens, and you go to universities, I'm going to go to UConn tonight, do you receive hate speech directed at you?
All the time, and I really do feel like the media and the left has made it okay
And I do just want to add that my biography, which I submitted, you reduced it to one sentence, calling me just a conservative activist, and it wasn't what I said or what I submitted to your office last night. I just think that you opened with anti-black bias, and I see it coming from the chairman today.
And Ms. Owens, these efforts to shut you down when you speak publicly on issues that you care about, under the protection of the First Amendment, are they peaceful?
No, they're really scary. They threaten us online perpetually. I receive threatening letters to my home when the media drums up narratives and pretends that I hate black people or that I hate gays or that I hate Muslims with no evidence supporting any of those claims. What they're inviting is for people to think it's okay to be violent towards me when they see me. They want to make it an act of virtue for people to be violent towards black conservatives that are outspoken.
And there are on occasion false accusations and staged hate crimes. What impact do those have on actual real hate crimes?
It makes it harder, I think, for people to come forward or for people to believe it. I don't see enough condemning of what Jesse Smollett did to this nation in terms of tearing us apart and causing a debate. And obviously the left was quick to believe him and put him on a platform despite absolutely no evidence. And it just makes it harder. Again, it just makes it harder for us to come together as a nation, which I think is what the president is trying to do, bring everybody together.
And Ms. Owens, are you familiar with the case of Isabella Chow, who is a UC Berkeley senator who was harassed because of a position she took?
I'm not.
Well, Ms. Chow took a position of basically abstaining from a vote due to religious concerns and was harassed out of her position, and she was hate speech galore, all arising and going forward. So it isn't that there isn't hate speech, it's that we need to condemn all hate speach. Your
That's
thoughts?
correct. I definitely agree. We need to condemn all hate speech. There's only one type of hate speech that they like to talk about and give a platform to. There is a double standard in this country, and that double standard, I think, is being felt the most by black conservatives, the Jewish community, and Christians.
And so, Mr. Klein, thank you, Ms. Owens. Mr. Klein, you remember the chairman agreeing to give you an extra 30 seconds because of the interruption that you experienced during your opening statement. And then do you remember being gavelled down by the chairman once you began speaking of the anti-Semitic remarks by a member of Congress? And Reese, we've just timed this. You only got 12 seconds. I have 30 seconds left. And so I'm going to give you those 30 seconds that you were promised to me tonight.
Well, I am deeply pained that after a congresswoman from Minnesota called Israel evil, hypnotized the world, Israel's an apartheid state, Jews used their money to promote what they want out of Congress, that this woman was defended by leaders of her party, defended by at least 3 members of her party who are running for president, with no consequence. She should have been removed from all of her committees, just the way Stephen King was. This unbelievable outburst of hatred toward Jewish people. In fact, there's actually a member of this very committee who publicly called Jews termites. Of this committee, and there was no consequence to that outrageous statement. So this is really frightening to me, especially as a child of Holocaust survivors. If there's not consequence to this type of hate speech against Jews, you're only going to get more of it. We're only going to embolden people to continue this, and ultimately, hate speech turns to the physical violence. That's been true throughout Jewish history, and that really frightens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for all that have gathered here again. Here we go again. The theater is open, and the summations are coming in. In fact, right now we're again running over the norms of congressional oversight.
Oh, Lord Jesus, I don't know. It's crazy world.
Things that we don't. But I am glad about one thing. I'm glad that the chairman read into the record today the Mueller report. I'm glad that he quoted, as he said, this is a quote directly from the Mueller report. I just wish my chairman would actually go read the rest of it that he has been offered to read, which he has chose not to read. But he did leave out one thing. He left out something in the Mueller report from just now. He read McGann's testimony beautifully, did everything right, but he left out what he doesn't want to have to come back to, the frustrating thing that has brought us here again and again and again, and that is the conclusion. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction charge. There's nothing here. After 2 years of doing this, we can read it in, you can talk about how you don't like it, you can talk about what you would like that, but at the end of the day, it's interesting to read in the quotes that make the headlines. We're also not going to read in the bottom line of what was actually concluded. So the Democrats are here trying again. The Mueller report concluded there was no collusion, no obstruction, because the report failed to provide damning information against the president. The majority claims we need to dig deeper. Deeper than the 2 years of investigation conducted by what is considered a prosecutorial dream team, because that probe ended without criminal charges against the president or his family. The special counsel closed up shop without giving Democrats anything to deliver to their base. Now the Democrats are trying desperately to make something out of nothing, which is why the chairman has, again, haphazardly subpoenaed today's witness. That move, though, has actually ensured the witness testify. You know, this is becoming a pattern. The chairman knew this, I believe, when he sent the subpoena last month, but instead of inviting the witness to testify voluntarily and working with McGann's counsel to find mutual agreeable time and scope for the testimony, the chairman rushed to maximize headlines by issuing a subpoena. That subpoena was the third in just 4 months. More subpoenas than the prior chairman issued in 6 years. The chairman has several ways out here. He took none of them. The chairman could have invited the witness to testify voluntarily. That was the practice in the 1990s when the White House counsel testified before Congress. But the chairman did not do that. Instead, he launched a subpoena at the witness without any consultation or follow-up with the witness's lawyer. The chairman could have invited the witness to testify behind closed doors. But that would have been politically expedient, and you wouldn't been here, and the show would not have been exciting. A closed-door conversation would not have generated those headlines, and everything that we're looking at today, even gathering in today's hearing without a witness, is theatrical. The cameras love a spectacle, and the majority loves a chance to rant against the administration. I just am glad today to see that we don't have chicken on the dice. The chairman orchestrated today's confrontation when he could have avoided it because he's more interested in the fight than backfight. Take the Mueller report, which we've already heard quoted from. More than 99% of the Justice Department has offered to the chairman for an entire month. The chairman refused to take a look at it.
That chairman is a racist pig.
Testify before the committee. The chairman changed the rules for the first time in the committee's 200-year history, thus blocking General Barr from testifying. I cannot emphasize this enough. The track record demonstrates he does not actually want information. He wants to fight, but not the truth. The closer he actually comes to obtaining information, the further we run from it.
It's because he does
Democrats
it
claim the need today's witness to investigate obstruction of
in the
justice.
Liberal
That
Party.
investigation was already done. Robert Mueller spent 2 years running it and then closed it.
He's doing
We're not a
it.
prosecutorial body,
That
we're a
it's
legislative body.
okay.
It does have valid congressional
But the thing is,
oversight. So
if
let's
he
talk
was
about that
part of
report
the
for just a second.
Republican Party
It's
or
really
the
interesting to me that
Conservative
the Mueller
Party,
report was actually
he would hate you just the same.
the chairman and the majority subpoenaed for all the documents. In fact, we have
He
a
would hate you
legal
just the
subpoena
same.
that asks the Attorney General to provide documents he cannot legally provide. That's been covered in this committee for the last 2 weeks exhaustively, and even the panel that was with us last week agreed that the subpoena asked the Attorney General to do something illegal by exposing 6E information. That was his own witnesses that said that. But you know what's interesting to me is that we subpoenaed the documents, we've subpoenaed that we want underlying documents, we've subpoenaed stuff that we can't get, but you know the one thing that we seem to avoid is Mr. Mueller himself, the one who wrote it. We've asked since April about Mr. Mueller coming. But every time we seem to get close to Mueller, this gets pushed on a little bit. I haven't seen a subpoena here, and this is what's really amazing. We'll get back to subpoenas in a moment, but just think about that. You wanted the work of the author, but you don't want to talk to the author. Keep that pen for just a moment. When we look at this, 99% of the information is at the Democrats' fingertips. And it's a Mueller report Attorney General offered to Speaker Pelosi, Chairman Allen, and others. They've seen it, but they refuse. So don't be fooled. Majority wants the fight, they want the drama. He does not actually want the information he claims to be seeking. After the administration made volumes of information available to this committee, the chairman issued overbroad subpoenas and now harangues the administration for being unable to comply with those subpoenas. In fact, it's the Democrats who are not engaging in the accommodation process, abruptly cutting off negotiations and rejecting olive branches by the administration. This is where I want to come back to something our chairman just said a moment ago. His quote was, in his opening statements, that our subpoenas are not optional. Well, we found out a lot about subpoenas over the last month or so in this committee. I found out that subpoenas maybe now are not optional. Let's add to the list. Subpoenas are also a discussion starter. A subpoena is to give us better standing in court. Not my quote, the chairman's quote. So what is it? Is a subpoena the legal document that we talked about all along here and the forceful document that all attorneys in this country actually use? Or is it a discussion starter? Is it to help our standing in court? Or is it we don't want it ignored?
At this time, it is amazing to me that the accommodation process, and we talk about the committee, and the chairman forcefully talked about our oversight. I agree with the chairman on this point. This committee, all committees in Congress have oversight responsibility, but it is also the sacred responsibility of the chairman and the majority to use it properly. And to not headlong rush into subpoenas when you don't get to what you want. That's all we've seen in 5 months here. When we don't get what we want, we subpoena. The first one was the acting attorney general. We subpoenaed and then we backed off. We caved. Then everything else has become a race to get a headline. The accommodation process, not happening. The accommodation process, never here. So don't be fooled. You may have come morning, you may have an opinion that says everything is wrong today with the Mueller report and the president is guilty. But don't congressional oversight because you can't wait. That's the problem we have right now. And so the question is, are we tearing at the fabric of congressional oversight? It was really interesting to hear some of that last week. When you have a committee that has issued subpoenas that ask the Attorney General to do something illegal, when you have subpoenas, when no accommodation process has been put in place, when you have contempt issues that have been apart with no process and no time going through, I just submit to you this, whatever your opinion on the Mueller report, great, glad you have it. But you didn't get it here today, and you're not getting it from this committee, because this committee undoubtedly doesn't like the author, or want to talk to the author of the report. They just want to talk about the report and make innuendo and attack the president. At the middle of the day, when this committee, who has charge of immigration, who has charge of intellectual property, who we've touched none of, when the crisis at the border, we have an admission that the economy's good, jobs are happening, unemployment is below rate. I guess at the end of the day, we can't find something with the Mueller report less than paying their power and peace fund, which they can't even agree on. Because the president is continuing to do his job. And we're here, again, with the circus and full work. So that's the deal.
Mr.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mount.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In congressional hearings, the minority party gets to select its own witnesses. And of all the people the Republicans could have selected, they picked Candace Owens. I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German. Everybody to be German.
All right, so my first question is to Ms. Hershinoff. Ms. Owens said, quote, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. So when people try to legitimize Adolf Hitler, does that feed into white nationalist ideology?
It does, Mr. Liu. I know that Ms. Owens distanced herself from those comments later, but we expressed great concern over the original comments.
Great, thank you. So there's been a lot of talk today. I'd like to focus on actual policy responses that our government can do to try to mitigate the threat of white nationalism. I know that in my district, in Los Angeles, just last month, 2 swastikas were painted at Pan Pacific Park along with the Trail of Blood. I met with Jewish constituents in my district who mentioned that at their synagogues, they've all had increased security. As you know, there is a nonprofit security grant program at the Department of Homeland Security. You believe it would be worthwhile to increase funding to that program?
The ADL has, for establishment reasons, First Amendment reasons, been very cautious and wary of government funding to religious institutions. That being said, we well understand the fear and the safety. So I think that is something that has to be done very carefully in terms of when entanglement. I know in the place where in Westchester County where I live, the state and local governments provide a great deal of protection to the synagogue to which I belong. So I do understand, and I would like to work more with Congress, but I want to caution about where we entangle. This is a very difficult thing to do, because when we're scared like this, of course, we
So,
want
so
money.
that is a great point you make, and I want to note that this program is applied to mosques as well as synagogues, so it is not specific to the religion. But it is true, the First Amendment does affect all of these issues, including, for example, private sector companies who say whatever it is that they want. Now, I'd like to also talk about a second program, and this is one that I asked Ms. Clark about, and it has to do with the Trump administration wanting to cut a very specific office called the Community Relations Service Office in the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. Can you first explain to American people what that office does and why it would be a bad idea to cut funding?
The Community Relations Service Office is a very critical part of the Justice Department. They are considered the peacemakers. They are the ones who step into communities that are embroiled in the aftermath of a hate incident. They are the ones who you'd want to deploy out to Louisiana, to the parishes where the churches are burning right now. They're the ones that you'd want on the ground right after the Charlottesville hate rally. We are deeply concerned by proposals to cut funding to this office, to shift this office to another part of the agency. It's important that this agency's work be completely non-political, but the very subject matter of this hearing today underscores the urgency of maintaining this office that has been with us for decades.
And in fact, one of the reasons that this office has worked well is because people who go there and get interviewed, it is not a prosecutorial office. And does that make it easier for people to provide information?
That's right. They are the peacemakers. They are the ones who go in and connect with communities that are suffering in the aftermath of a hate incident. They connect with victims of crimes and hate crimes and connect them with services. And most importantly, they're the ones who help to ensure that an incident doesn't escalate and lead to more tension. So we need this agency now more than ever.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman from North Dakota, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would yield my time to Mr. Eschenbauer from Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Ms. Owens, I'm sorry, we just started recording. Would you like time to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Luke believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again. Witness may continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
The witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Please.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not go pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully he cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me. He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact, the question that was asked of me was pertaining to whether or not I believed that whether or not I believed in nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives. By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. I'm a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me. But I believe the legacy and the ancestry of black Americans is being insulted every single day. I will not pretend to be a victim in this country. I know that that makes many people on the left uncomfortable.
And Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee were extremely uncomfortable as Candace Owens just flashed at the narratives of the people like Nadler and Ted Lieu. In fact, when C-SPAN tweeted out the video of the confrontation with Lieu, it racked up 4.47 million views in less than 24 hours. It's a Twitter record for that network. Joining me now in her first interview since the explosive hearing is Candace Owens herself. She's the comms director for Turning Point USA, and Leo Terrell, civil rights attorney, but both sides represented here tonight. Candace, why do you think that your moment, and I watched it from beginning to end, has drawn such attention, and what has been the reaction to you personally since?
Well, I think it drew attention for a lot of reasons. I think in many ways people on the right felt vindicated. I know there were a lot of moderate people that came over and realized that what I was talking about were actually real issues in Black America. I touched upon the illiteracy rates. 75% of Black boys in California not being able to read is a problem in Black America. White nationalism, on Black crime, 90.1% of all homicides against Black Americans are performed by other Black Americans. The entire hearing, in my opinion, was a hoax. The continued hoax on Black America, which comes to us from Democrats who want us ultimately to fail by focusing on something that is not harming us when you look at all of the other issues that we are facing.
Now, Leo, you watched, I'm sure, at least part of what Candace said yesterday. Your reaction?
Oh, I can see right now Candace Owens getting 15 minutes of fame and 15 to 30 seconds to prove my point. She just again assumed that all Democrats are hoping that Black people fail. On her interview with C-SPAN, she says that the word nationalism has been compromised or poisoned by elitists. Come back to the people in Charlottesville. She then tried to put herself in the same category of Donald Trump, talking about the false narrative. But the part that was so insulting was she's promoting her employer and said that she went to Jerusalem and not a single Democrat went there. Ms. Owens, let me tell you, 72% of Jewish Americans voted for Democrats. So you did a great job of promoting yourself and playing the victim. And by the way, it's not just Black people who are not stupid by what you said. Americans were not stupid because I listened to everything you just said. And I hope you can challenge what I said about the number of Blacks, number of Jews who support Democrats. But you did a good job of marketing yourself today, putting yourself in the same boat as the president. Good job, Candace.
All right, so the personal attack, I just wanted, for the record, I just want to say, the personal attacks continue. That, Leo, was, you're attacking her character. She's mentioning issues. You're attacking her character and what she said. You're not attacking that.
You're not a leader, in my opinion,
Don't talk over the
let me speak. Let me speak. That wasn't ad hominem attack and it's childish. I'm not going to play these playground tactics with you. I'm going to keep the focus on Black America and the things that are actually impacting us. This is an adult conversation that needs to be had. Okay, the shootings in Chicago. It was Laura Ingraham who hosted and had a real conversation with people that were living in that neighborhood about things that are affecting them. And ultimately, this is why the Brexit movement grows. This is why Blacks are exiting the Democrat Party. Because ad hominem attacks are not making people feel better about themselves. Ad hominem attacks are not going to impact our financial situation in Black America. It's unfortunate because you consider yourself a civil rights leader. You're just attacking me. You're just attacking me. You haven't actually offered anything that's constructive for Black America.
Does anyone watching your program honestly believe what she just said? I'll give you a straight. She said Democratic Party wants Black people to fail. Those are talking points, Ms. Owens, because you know deep down inside, just because you disagree with the Democrats, you cannot assume that Democrats want Black people to fail. That's what you just said on national TV.
I did, and I believe that, and I will back that up with facts.
Okay.
I will back it up with facts. I will back it up with facts.
You know that's not true.
I want to play something.
Laura, you know that's not true.
Today. I
will back it up with facts.
I think a lot of Democrat leaders are freaking out and tried to kill her yesterday at that hearing because they don't want what she is saying to take hold in other parts of the Black community. Leo, I honestly believe that. I know Candace, and what was said about her implied by Ted Lieu was disgusting. I do, and that's why I want to have a conversation about these underlying issues. That's why we went to Chicago to do that forum. That's why we want to hear from the neighbors that are hurting in Englewood, in the Englewood neighborhood. They're hurting. They're really hurting. And they're not hurting mostly because of white nationalism. That's always going to be a problem. But that's not really why they're hurting.
Here's my request, Laura. I would like to go to Chicago with you that issue. I would love to go.
Why do we need to debate? Why don't you want to hear? Why do you want to debate?
Because I
Why
want to
don't you want to go
discuss
and
it.
hear about other people? You want to debate. That's like, why
You
don't
just
you,
made
why do
an
you want to
attack.
hear from the people that are
The most diverse
being
party.
attacked? I
The
haven't
most
said,
diverse
I have
party
not said
in the
one thing
Democratic
about
Party.
students.
He's looking
Let me speak.
for,
I have not said, let me speak. Let me speak. Let me
He
speak.
wants
I have not
clout.
said
That's
a
what he
single thing
wants.
attacking your characters. I don't need to. I am confident in my ideas. I am confident in the fact that Black America is waking up and realizing that we have been missing out. I am confident that the biggest issue facing our community is father absence, which further deconstructs everything that is happening. Stop cutting me off. I didn't cut you off, okay?
You have
I have not
attacked every.
attacked
You
you
have
once.
attacked every
I have not
Democrat.
attacked.
You
I
have
have
attacked
attacked
every
Democratic
member of this country.
Democrat policies are hurting America, are hurting
She
Black
has
America.
attacked every Democrat. Every Democrat. She has basically said that every Democrat, the most diverse party of minorities, of people of color. She has just said on national TV over and over again that the Democrats want black people to fail. Ms. Owens, that's not the first time. Those are your words.
It seems like it.
That is not true.
It seems like it.
I would actually say
Because you haven't done nothing about black on black crime.
with a greater sense of, belief and credibility. Had Leo, you said something similar every time a Nita Lowey
like it.
or or Elijah Cummings, just imparts
Well,
the
you
worst
show up
motives
when a cop
of
beats
people
up
who
on
disagree with
somebody,
us on policy.
but when a black boy gets killed, you don't show up
The worst motives
trying to
ever.
resolve the
On
problem
the other side,
there,
are you a white person, then you have too much white privilege, then you need to put, you need
trying to
to
make
sit
it
down
something
and let
else.
someone else's truth be heard. I think, Leo, you got your truth out. You got your truth out. Candace got her truth out. And I think we do want to have problem solving done on both sides. We want problem solving on this show. And that means we have different points of view heard. And Leo, you can come. Come to Chicago. Candace,
Thank you.
we actually could roll up our sleeves and get something done, I think, if the three of us actually wanted to do that. So, guys, thank you so much. Candace, great to have you on. Leo, great to have you on.
Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. Fireworks flying on Capitol Hill this week between conservative commentator Candace Owens and California Congressman Ted Lieu at a hearing on hate speech. The exchange becoming the most viewed C-SPAN Twitter video for a House hearing ever. Nearly 6.8 million views watched the whole thing.
I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets,
So,
the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
Ms. Owens, I'm sorry, we just started recording. Would you like time to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Lieu believes that Black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In congressional hearings,
I don't know, it's back and forth. It's like we have real serious issues and we cannot be fighting each other. Because as long as we continue to fight each other, we're not going to resolve these issues. That's pure, that's right there, simple. We have to find ways of resolving issues. Let's not referring each other to more of black and white. Forget about black and white. We cannot refer to each other as the color of our skin. That's just a pigmentation. We're people. And all people suffer and all people struggle. Poverty does not just affect black people. Racism just doesn't affect black people. Wrong is wrong. Secure borders is secure borders. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a a liberal issue. There's a certain amount of jobs, and the amount of jobs that we have today are very precious. All our jobs have gone overseas. So the few jobs we do have, we have to make sure that there's enough jobs for people that live here, that are family members that are citizens of this country, that their family members have fought, have died, defending that Constitution, that flag, for us to have the freedoms that we have. And we allow people just to come in here and skip everyone and take that job and not pay taxes on it. We lost all the way around, because that person is not paying tax, that person is not supposed to be here. It's just a whole bunch of problems. We have to continue to help people, yes, but the correct way. We can allow so many people, but not every person. If I own a business, a movie theater, and I have 100 seats, I have to pay my bills to keep that movie theater running. Am I going to just let everyone take a seat? No. It's simple things. It's common sense things. These are not things that are hard. I don't know why they make things so hard. Why does it have to be this type of issue or that issue? It's simple common sense. People make mistakes. If the crime is not violent, clean their record after 10 years. So let these people be able to get a job. Let them be able to stand tall. Don't tie a weight on their leg and drag away for the rest of their lives. They already did their time. They pay for their crime. That's it. People are doing things that are completely wrong. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. We have to help one another. We have to help one another. Fighting each other is not going to get us anywhere. It's just going to build up, and you're going to see it in the media, which that's what we're seeing. It's going to make people angry. People are going to get angry with each other and fight each other, kill each other. And we see that. We see that every day. Just because one bad cop hurts someone, it doesn't mean that all cops are bad. Just because one priest is a pedophile, not all priests are pedophiles. You have a tree, not all the apples are bad. You find one bad apple. Am I supposed to assume that all the apples are bad in the tree? That I can't eat from none of those trees, those apples? Am I supposed to cut the tree off? And what's going to happen? I'm not going to have no more apples. If I cut the tree because I found one bad apple, I'm not going to have apple cider no more because I got rid of the tree because of one bad apple. What have we done? We got rid of the cops. Now we have more crime. Now crime is even affecting senators. I mean, where does it end? What has to happen? Does a senator have to get killed? Does a politician have to get killed for people to see? Why should anyone have to get killed? Wrong is wrong, right is right. They're already making it hard for the kids that we have. They have no fathers. They're dragging themselves. Single parent homes. I mean, now you're gonna fill them with more hate. fill them with more hate. And these are supposed to be the leaders, the ones that went to Harvard, the ones that went to Yale. Policies are not liberal, they're not conservative. Secure borders, it's a policy, it's not a liberal issue, it's not a conservative issue. It's everybody's issue, you know. Let's stop putting ourselves, it's like we put ourselves black and white. Now we want to put ourselves that secure borders is a liberal issue. And it's not this type of issue. No. It's just big mistake. Big mistake. Freaking disease was to come in this country. We wouldn't even know where it's coming from. Because we have open borders. We don't know if it would come from China or from where the hell it's coming from. Because we have open borders. Where did the disease come from? Well, we don't have no idea. I mean, you would think it, people, I mean, it's not hard running a country. Running a country is like running your home. These are your family members, even though we're not DNA, we're, you know, but they're your family members, living in different homes. And you want the best for everything for these family members that live in this city, in this United States of America. I don't care about the ones that are racist, I care about the ones that are good. Good over prevails. As long as you continue to do good, good over. Forget about the bad ones. You can't judge the whole pack because a few bad ones. Now we got black and white. Meanwhile, everybody's white. You take the black skin off a black person, you see white. Everybody's white. It's relative. White, black, it's you ever seen a black albino? It's bullshit. Really, everyone is red. We got blood, red blood. And you got people talking about, oh, aliens. You can't even get along with yourselves, and you wanna talk about aliens? Huh? Imagine, God forbid if aliens exist, if they come down here with green blood. Yeah, you'll accept them the first couple of days, but after a while you'll kill them. You kill each other. You love killing each other. You're not people. Animals have more decency. Animals have more decency. Since when have you seen an animal beat the shit out of their child? Since when? Don't get me wrong, it happens. Some cats will eat the head off of another cat. Very rarely. And sometimes I wonder why they do it. Maybe the kitten was dead already, I don't know. But I tell you, it's horrible. And we have to stop doing these things. We're destroying our children, we're destroying this country. And it's not good. And it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch. You divided all of us. You have even divided me and my son, that we don't even talk now. Because of the debating back and forth behind Donald Trump. I look at, yeah, and Christmas by myself. I'm by myself on Christmas. My first granddaughter and I have not even spent not one Christmas with her. This is my third Christmas by myself. But not say I haven't made my mistakes. I made my mistakes. But at least I'm willing to listen to find out what they are. And if I'm innocent, let me have the chance to say I'm innocent. But at this point, I wouldn't even try to claim innocence. I would just stay quiet and accept my family, my son, my daughter, and just, if I have to play wrong, I'll play wrong, just to have them again in my life. This world is horrible, I tell you. Horrible. It's sad that I'm here like this, and they can be somewhere else laughing at this minute, enjoying themselves. I can never be part of anyone's suffering. I can never be part of that. I never have and I never will. I've never made anyone suffer. Things have happened in my life, but due to situations and events of other people's actions, but my actions were always good. All I ever wanted was to raise my kids the correct way and give them a better life than what I had, and be the father that I never had. That's all I ever wanted. And I wanted was to be the husband the best husband I can be. I'm not rich, I'm not poor. I thought I would be appreciative for these simple things, but it's not enough today. Society expects more. Women expect more. And it's hard to expect so much from a man that society hasn't made enough space for that man to be able to succeed. Because he's going to keep falling in his face over and over and over and over and over. And now continue to hold the man down because he committed a crime years earlier when he was a teenager. Continue to mark him as a felon for the rest of his life because he did a crime when he was young. You cannot do this. The policies. A lot of it is good, but we need laws. But you have to have people be able to get themselves to put their head back up. This is what they're doing to our children. This is what they do. This is what they do. This is what they do. I'm dedicating my years, my life to painting, expressing myself through art, trying to be the best I can be. because of that. It's like I remember Vincent saying when it was letters, no one comes to sit by my fire to warm themselves by my warmth. So depressing for me. Christmas is always so depressing for me. It's very depressing. Every year is so depressing. Very depressing. Every year it's gonna be like this, I guess. I was hoping maybe I go. And maybe if I go somewhere where I can just spend the remaining years of my life just looking at the new sights. Because there's nothing left to see in New York. But I don't care about people's laws to go somewhere. Anywhere, especially now with what's going on in Australia. People can't even go outside. But I don't know. I would be happy just to be somewhere else now. And look at new places, and meet new people. I think that would be enough just to keep me thinking about other things. And maybe if I can see some beauty, some new beauty that I haven't seen before, it'll be enough for me to keep myself busy and pain. I surely can't find it here in New York City. I can't find it here. New York is very bitter. It's a very bitter place. Very bitter place. Very bitter place. If this video doesn't make you up, then I don't know what will. If this video doesn't wake you up, if this video doesn't wake you up, then I don't know what will. Okay. And I don't know, life is so crazy. What I would like is, if I could get some finances to continue to paint and leave the body of work to the person that finances me and continue to paint every day and have some models come in. I think my work can really change. I think it can be really important one day. I think my work can really be very important one day. It can bring a lot of feeling to my work. I will have to concentrate on one. I have to look for something. Yeah. There has to be something. Another crime.
Chicago police say one person is responsible for robbing businesses and people 21 times in the past month. Many of those crimes taking place right here in Rogers Park. And that has business owners and advocates shocked that he hasn't been caught.
We have to just admit it. It's kind of scary and it's just kind of bothering because, like, how was he able to do that for 21 times in the same neighborhood? You know, just keep going on for so long.
So while Beulah Ross Coker works at IO Fashion in Rogers Park, she says she just learned that the man police say is confronting people mostly in the evening or overnight hours with a gun and politely asking them for their money and belongings.
He's a thief. I think he's looking to the police, and I think that's just what it is. Whether you act nicely or you don't, you are friends with people, and I think that's just unfortunate.
Police say the crime started on November 22nd and goes all the way to this past Tuesday.
Wait, you don't have a
Incident
picture?
spanning Rogers Park, 26th Street to the south,
Show us
and elsewhere
picture.
in the city. The suspect robbing people, convenience stores,
They're gonna have
liquor shops,
cameras
even a
and-
clothing store and a fast food restaurant.
If the community stood together, there would be no way one person could terrorize us.
Greg Sherman works as a violence prevention advocate. He says it's going to take more than police to stop these crimes.
We could put the blame on CPD, we could put the blame in a lot of places, but I would say as a community, we should stand together more to protect ourselves.
Meanwhile, Rogers Park bar owner Eric Archibald says he hopes police can work to inform the community faster.
When you're talking about armed robberies and people being pulled up, that's a big topic. That's something that I haven't experienced in owning a business in Rogers Park in 7.5 years.
Chicago police say the suspect is driving rented vehicles, the latest one a Mitsubishi with Texas plates. If you have any information about those crimes, you're asked to call Area 4 detectives.
Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to our ABC7 Chicago YouTube
This
channel.
way. I saw someone with Texas plate yesterday. I don't know if it was a Mitsubishi, I think it was a
This
pickup
program
truck.
contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ryan is a very funny, very energetic individual. He's a good guy.
He's caring, he's helpful. Brian is a very smart person.
Hey, look, it's done.
He is a good mechanic. He knows how to fix things.
He could have a happy life instead of this scrounging to get high.
I appreciate it. My name is Ryan, and I'm 26 years old. I am addicted to fentanyl.
Ryan will steal, pawn, everything. Half my house has disappeared. Ryan's addiction, it's affected everybody, the whole family. We're all suffering from it. I just wish I had the old Ryan back. But the day Ryan was born, it was love at first sight with Ryan.
He liked to have fun. He smiled a lot, he laughed a lot. He wanted to experience everything. And it was good memories.
He's a good learner. He just didn't like rules.
Ryan did have a tough run going to junior high. He was being picked on and he would never back down.
In junior high school, Ryan was very anti-establishment. He was a jokester. He would be blamed for things that he had no involvement in.
They proceeded to say he had a lot of ADD issues. So to make the long story short, we had agreed that the best thing for Ryan at that point would be homeschooling.
I had a lot of misgivings. My idea of him finishing school is in a school. Sometimes Karen was doing his homework. We would argue about it all the time.
It did get to me quite a bit. They'd be like screaming and yelling at each other. Like I just didn't want to even be in the house, so I'd just go outside and do whatever I could to get away from it.
In his teens, his biggest thrill was skateboards. He'd eat, think, sleep, skateboarding.
The first time I ever touched a skateboard, I just fell in love with it. There's like no rules. You could just kind of do whatever you wanted. You could get anything at the skateboard, from crack cocaine to acid. I was smoking a ton of weed. That's pretty much like skateboarding life.
When Ryan was 16, everything changed drastically.
I went to go do my trick, and I probably jumped from like 5 or 6 feet. And when I landed, I just remember looking down, and it was like half a tennis ball in my sock.
He had shattered the whole ankle.
The doctor started me off with a bunch of pain pills, and everything went away. you're just like in agony, and that's one little thing can just make that stop. And so eventually the pills didn't do anything for me, and they had to upgrade me to the oxys. I loved the feeling of those pills. You just give me more and more, and like I'd always end up having to get a refill early.
The ankle injury had a lot of effects on Ryan.
I think he was down on himself, and he just wanted to be left alone.
His dad decided he was gonna move out, just packed his Jeep up with his personal stuff and just drove away. He had no contact, didn't bother to phone him, see how he's doing, nothing. I think it made Ryan feel like his dad didn't care.
After my dad left, I actually had like a lot more free time. My mom stopped paying attention to what I was doing like completely, and it was free feeling. At the same time, it's kind of a feeling. I would have bought like cocaine, MDMA, anything, so I could get as high as much as I wanted. It felt good to just be out and not have to deal with any problems at home.
We were separated for a year.
I think you go to your shed and
addiction
can't
came to
even
the
say
forefront
anything
while I was
because
gone.
I don't wanna,
I went to buy some oxys. They ended up being
Not my
like
kids.
fentanyl, I guess.
blame themselves.
We went over there to try to help, and the paramedics were there.
Ryan looked like a rag doll, and they said he was not breathing.
They brought him out of this overdose, and when he got out of the hospital, he went and overdosed again. The same day.
Me and Bianca, I met her at a friend's house that I used to party at every weekend.
Bianca. Her and Ryan are drug buddies. She keeps showing up at the house.
Ryan and Bianca's relationship was never a healthy relationship. Bianca's quite a user. Are we gonna go get her?
Yeah.
They lock themselves in the bedroom, they use their drugs. Nothing I can do about it.
When was the last time you got high?
Like this morning.
This morning?
Yeah. Every day.
How can I help you?
I don't need
I want to.
I don't need help. Nobody can help me.
You guys ready to eat?
Like, I don't care anymore. I really don't.
Ryan.
Yo, I didn't like sign up to be like put on trial. Like, can you drive me home? I'm done right now.
Where are you going?
Going home.
How come?
Okay, can you get a camera equipment? Like, I didn't.
When Ryan gets upset, we all know that there's no sense trying to stop him.
Let me talk to him, just let me talk to him.
We know that it'd escalate into a fight, and that would be way worse. Ryan gets very angry.
Can I talk to you?
Get the out of my room. Honestly, right now. Get the go.
Karen has said in the past, if he should die, I'd be sad and I'd be heartbroken, but it would be over. It'd be done.
I can't understand how he could make his mom feel that way.
I used to sit up hours and watch him all night and worry about him, and now it's no. Oh, I've totally given up.
You saw your drugs in that room? Did you have 550?
It's hard for me to watch Karen get taken advantage of, but it's time to face reality. This has been going on for years. Where is he getting the money to be stoned?
So does that mean you can help me out, or you're not going to?
If Ryan doesn't stop, he will die. And I'm okay with that.
No, how long's he been using?
5 years.
5 years. 5 years?
That I know of.
How long ago
Junior
was the
high.
surgery? He was using pot in grade 6.
And there was a skateboard accident?
And that's where it started, with prescribed drugs. Yep. And then once we couldn't get him anymore, then it just went to the streets. That's when the fentanyl use started coming in.
Yeah, that led him to this place where he is now.
Yeah.
We
ready? Yeah, we're good. Let's go.
Hi, good morning, Ryan.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, I'm Maureen. Come on in. You're amongst people who love you.
Stop all you guys.
It brings me pain watching you destruct. I am watching you die before my eyes, and it hurts so much. I am pleading with you to take the help. If you don't, I will have no choice but to set boundaries with you and refuse to.
Right, can I ask you to put your phone away, Ryan?
Give me a second.
Ryan. So I'd really appreciate it if you put it away. Thank you. Thank you.
To let this addiction take such control over you, I failed you. Please accept this lifeline. Should you decide not to accept, you will no longer call our house home. You will no longer be welcome in our home.
I'm so afraid that I will be the one to find you overdosed and dead. That is something that is driving me further away from you. Ryan, I urge you to please accept the help that's being offered today.
Well, Ryan, it's my job to ask you if you're willing to accept help.
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's time. You're killing yourself.
Whatever. I'm not going.
Ryan.
You guys can go yourself.
Ryan, slow down, slow down. Would you like to have a cigarette?
Oh, yeah.
It's hard. All you need to do is just talk to your family and come with us, that's all.
Yeah.
Let's do this, come on.
Ryan's so weird. Here I am, looking at about a show about Brian, and then I run into this picture. That's some shit.
Like, how long am I supposed to go to this place for?
Isn't that so
90
weird?
Well, it takes that long for the brain to reset itself, right? That's why you had so much trouble stopping.
Good.
This has to be a coincidence.
And when am I supposed to leave?
Today.
Let me pause this, and I'm gonna show you what I just. I'm looking for a picture of the
Let's go right
plane.
now. Just get up and leave.
So you're ready to go.
Yeah, whatever. Good.
That's a good choice, Ryan.
You'll be Ryan again. We all know you can do it.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do this. Bye,
It's so
everyone.
weird.
Buddy, I'm gonna
The
miss
way
you.
things happen like that.
Too much. Bye.
Off to a new life.
Yes.
I gotta
Doing
show
okay?
you,
All right, yeah.
because I gotta show you this, cause you're gonna think like it kind of makes you think like there's a glitch in the matrix. I'm watching. I mean, you've been hearing me watch it, right? And this is the video over here, right, about this guy. But at the same time as I'm watching this, I'm over here looking for an image, right? To sketch, and then I run into the first image on my tablet happens to be this image. Now that dude there, doesn't it look like that dude there? I don't know, man. Like, what does that mean? Like, how is it that I'm watching a video that's not live? It's been recorded it was posted December 21st, 2021. And then I'm over here here going, and I run into an image, and I'm like listening to the footage over here, and I remember seeing him over here, and then when I look over here, you know, I'm not even looking over there. I already looked over there a couple of times to know who are the people on this show that they're talking. Then when I look over here, I'm like, wait a minute, but ain't that the guy that... But it can't be him because this is like an old image. If you look at the mouth, and then you look at the mouth over here, look at the mouth over here. It's a glitch in the matrix, I guess. I think everything is connected. Everything is connected. That's a way of the system telling me everything is not like, how can I explain it? It's not, because look at this. Like, how can you explain that? That happens to me a lot. I remember the Nelson Mandela, when they say that he died. I remember that. And then he didn't die. But I remember that, and there's stories all over the internet about that. But I remember hearing Nelson Mandela die. I remember that. But it's so weird because when I remember the story, I remember him dying and hearing the story and me. I can't even explain that. I'm not, you're gonna think I'm crazy if I say that. Because I do remember hearing the story. I remember that day. I'm not even gonna explain it because you're gonna think I'm just completely crazy, but I remember that day. And then for a while, I thought he did really die, but it turned out he didn't die. And a lot of people said the same thing. Yeah, I remember hearing it, that he did die. That he died in prison. Was it that he died in prison? That he did die. I don't know where that story came from. Or maybe it was when he was released. I wonder what was going on around that time. I think this was around 91. Was he released in 91? And maybe his name was out there in the media because he came out of prison after so many. It must have been out already then. Because when I heard it, I was like, oh shit. So maybe he must already come out. I don't know, I can just see some glitches in the media. It's almost like the day that I was laying in bed and I was sleeping and I woke up and I knew something was wrong. And I had to get to my daughter and something was wrong. Just woke up. Clock in the morning, I think we gotta go check up on your mother, see what's going on.
God,
Little
no.
antsy. Doesn't.
You were.
Learn.
It's good you're going to Vancouver.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Gorgeous.
Be a good place to dry out.
Well, more than dry out.
Well, yeah.
Hi there, Jeremy Jordan. How are you doing now?
All is good. Doing the right thing for sure.
Line up the treatment after 2 weeks. He returned to his parents' home and continued to give someone else a suffering. But did he get off or not?
Be a good place to dry out. Doing the right thing for sure.
Line up treatment after 2 weeks. He returned to his parents' home and continued to use he continues to look for support. So 2 weeks is not enough. 2 weeks is it's a way of them getting money from the insurance. It's no way. 2 weeks is not enough. It's physical and it's mental. You need more time than you need more time than that.
This
You
program
understand?
contains
But
subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer
we
discretion is
gotta.
advised.
My name's Elliot. I'm 27 years old. When I first went to Las Vegas, I wanted to work one of those nice Wolfgang Puck restaurants. I wanted to be like Anthony Bourdain. I wanted to be a great chef. Cooking was my passion. But heroin got in the way of that.
Alright, I'm gonna go this way to use it in the dumpster if you guys wanna film me.
Currently, I'm addicted to heroin, methamphetamine, and Xanax.
Elliot does steal to fund his addiction.
I just got these items from a store. I won't say how, but
I'm really good at something that I'm gonna cost us satisfying.
Elliot has stolen from me on several occasions, broken into my house and taken tens of thousands of dollars in tools.
He has stolen my wedding ring.
He's gotten to the point where Elliot puts himself in dangerous situations every day.
He's been in jail, robbed, beaten up, overdosed, in the hospital.
I watched Elliot overdose in front of me, heart stopped beating. It was terrifying. I thought he was gone.
Elliot was born in Bakersfield, California. He was a very happy baby.
Growing up with brothers, we grew up old school, fist fights, playing in the dirt.
It was tough looking for boys.
One day she was happy, one day she was crying her eyes out.
Tanya had a very hard time handling the kids. She was diagnosed with postpartum depression. When Elliot was about 5 years old, Tanya and I divorced.
Growing up with Tanya, we struggled. We used to put ketchup in hot water with peppers, potato soup, and stuff, something to eat. We were always hungry.
It's sad to see his kids go down.
When Elliot was 8 years old, he became apparent to me that Tanya was no longer capable of taking care of our children.
I wanted her to be a mom because she's a mom. I love her. Take me doing things that the other kids did, you know?
Carrie already had 4 children of her own, so we put together a big house, a big family, they all love each other very much.
That's supposed to be a right girl. I love this girl.
Elliot was very depressed, in a deep depression.
We all knew that Elliot was smoking weed, doing the usual, teenager stuff, but after his girlfriend had passed away, we all noticed that it went from 0 to 100.
Some of my friends wanted to get me high to forget. So they're like, Elliot, we got the thing for you. Her name's heroin. Come give it a try. Right then I knew he was addicted.
Elliot did very well. He bounced back really well.
He still had dreams and hopes, and I was very excited when he decided to further his cooking dreams.
When Elliot went to Fort Blue, I was hopeful for him.
So I knew they were step in the right direction, be sober and to start
When I first moved out here, I called my brother up. He gave me a bedroom.
Elliot and all of our siblings looked up to Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce was everyone's hero.
He was our leader. He was the oldest.
Their best friends.
Elliot started out at a pretty well-known, world-famous restaurant.
Everybody I knew, from my chef to the box boys, smoked weed, drank alcohol, did cocaine. Some of the cooks sold cocaine.
Bryce had struggled with heroin addiction as well. He was in recovery.
When Elliot was 26, Bryce had just got
Bryce and Elliot lived together and had a sobriety pact. They needed a support system, and each other was a good idea.
Elliot definitely tried staying clean, but about 7 months ago, something happened.
Last year, we got a call that changed our family.
None of us were the same. None of us still are the same.
My sister called me and she said, hey, Bryce got into an accident.
My brother was coming back from Pahrump on his motorcycle.
He was coming down the road and the car was coming into the lane he was in.
He hit the median and he flew off of his bike.
he was thrown from his motorcycle and landed on a metal cactus.
Oh, wow. Oh,
The
wow.
ambulance driver said that he's never seen something so bad in his life.
Oh,
They said they had to physically hold him together at the scene.
They rushed him to surgery. They put him under. He never woke back up.
Holy shit.
After Bryce's death, Elliot had confided in me that he and Bryce had used drugs together prior to Bryce's accident.
That's a lawsuit,
I
man.
believe Elliot took it the worst.
That's
He was
dangerous,
with them that
man.
day. They were using. He feels directly responsible for it, even though it's not his fault.
He blamed himself for what happened. I think Elliot overdosed the day of or the day after Bryce passed. I thought I was gonna lose him too. Over 6 times. One of those times was on purpose.
Whenever Elliot experiences a loss, turns to drugs to numb the pain.
Funny, we're gonna start our own business together. Can you guys stop filming, please?
We just got word that Elliot may have OD'd and we're driving right now to see what's happening. There's the ambulance. You see the light right there? It's right here. I think you got it, man. Follow the ambulance.
No, we're not going. We're not going. Elliot, we're not going, please. No, I want you to be safer.
So stupid.
What is stupid?
Everything that's
Yeah, it's killing people. That's why you shouldn't take drugs from strangers and use your own Xanax. Why don't you have your own Xanax? Yeah, well then don't take it.
It was very unhealthy atmosphere growing up. Tanya has a very, very toxic personality. Not a very good mother. She took us from her father when we were very young. When I was about 6 years old, Elliot was 5. My dad essentially went to work one day and came home and everything was gone. No warning, nothing. She had just up and left it. Took all the kids. She got child support from my father, but used it all on herself. We would go hungry.
No way.
Yeah.
And then how did you come about moving with your dad?
One day she decided that she was going to walk us 300 miles in the dead of summer with no water provisions to Basin, California from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, so you were living in Vegas?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna walk to your dad's? That was her plan?
She didn't have a plan.
And so she was walking you across
The desert,
the desert?
interstate, shoulder on the road.
How far did you guys get?
5 or 6 miles. And in the dead of summer, about 110 degrees outside.
Marshall, I have a door something.
Oh, yeah.
Pulled up and it for that.
And our sister Elena was about 6 months old in a stroller.
Yeah.
She's been in the mental hospital multiple times. And she's diagnosed apparently schizophrenic.
Okay. So what was Tanya's response after the highway incident?
Never happened.
She said it never happened.
Completely delusional.
That's interesting, that there's no reality for her. That's really heartbreaking that she can't see that.
We always had to go to a food shelter.
We didn't get a fish, we had
Mom, we've
nothing.
been to
Because some of the stories that I got is that a meal would be ketchup with hot water.
Oh my God, that is not true. That's about my grandma. That is never true. That never happened. We had freaking.
But that's the reality.
That's what they believe. That is not
That's
true.
their
We
perception.
literally, okay, that's their perception.
But they were old enough to remember.
Okay, they're literally just being ridiculous.
So I told us we walked down the highway.
What you were told? Well, who told you this? By who?
My brother is still there. And then
Okay.
she walked down the highway with me.
No, I didn't walk down the
And
highway.
I was in the stroller.
I was stupid. So,
So when you were walking, where were you planning on going?
I don't know. I just wanted to get away.
I'm walking from
I was not going to walk to Bakersfield. Obviously, I'm not going to walk to Bakersfield. So, anyway, I went to the hospital, and then Mike got the boys like that if he wanted.
How long did they keep you?
A couple weeks, just a couple weeks. Yeah, and I got whatever.
Women's hospital?
Yes, and I had postpartum, Elena.
What did they diagnose you with?
I don't know. It,
My grandma said
Your
she
grandma
diagnosed.
said?
That
Really?
she diagnosed with narcissism.
No, they never said that, Elena. You make it sound like I'm crazy, Elena. I had postpartum.
She talks like this to us all the time. We're just trying to help her
You're
discuss.
constantly talking and attacking me and bringing up my past and trying to drag me down my past. I'm over.
How's everyone doing?
Hopefully it goes smooth. Oh God.
What's up, man?
The whole crew's here, huh?
Good to see you, man.
This is exciting, huh? So everyone's here today because they're worried about you and your addiction, and you already lost a brother, right?
Yeah.
And they're not ready to lose another one.
I need you to understand how much you mean to me and this big family of yours that loves you so much. I love you beyond words can describe. I really want you to know that you're anything but a burden to me and this family, and we all want you back into our arms, into our lives, and we love you with all of our hearts. Love you too. Love you so much.
I love you. And I don't wish what happened to Bryce to happen to you. And then I'm so sorry for everything after I that it's negatively affected you. And I hope that we can change things for the better for the future.
Thank you.
I love you.
So Elliot, what do you want to do? You want to get in that car and head to Arizona?
Yeah. Don't want to lose my family, so it seems like the best option.
Thank you.
Walk into a cry fest.
Hi, Bob.
All right, Ellie. Hey, man. I'm ready.
Nice to meet you.
Buena vista. Welcome. I'm glad you're here.
I have been sober for 85 days.
Oh, that's good.
Emotionally, mentally, physically, I feel great. Without the drugs, it's crazy, man. It's like I'm experiencing life all over again. I feel like I have a lot of work to do. This is a lifelong thing of maintenance.
Where are you working again? I forgot.
I'm working at a restaurant again. I'm cooking again.
Nice. Yeah, dude, I'm really proud of you, man. You know, Bryce would be proud of you if he was here, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think about him a lot, man. He's a big part of like why I've been pushing myself so hard.
That's good. He's still sober. That's fantastic.
This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Amber was really outgoing, vivacious, active. She used to be fun. Now she drinks a lot.
I'm starting to shake, I can feel it.
I'm trapped alcohol and bulimia.
She'll say, I've been doing really good, or I've kept my food down. Underneath it all, everyone knows how sick she is.
As soon as she gets Kalia to bed, she drinks even more. I'll let you do your thing.
Who could be a good mom if they're drunk? I mean, you can't be a good mom if you're drunk. That's impossible.
I don't think she really knows what impact this is having on the whole family.
What are we doing?
We're talking about her.
I choose to deal with it by not dealing with it. Why are you yelling at me?
I'm not yelling at you. We were just talking about what was going on. That's all.
I just don't know what you want to talk about. I wonder why anyone ever has any children.
Oh, that's a horrible thing to
There's
say.
anybody here that doesn't care about you?
That is
Give
a
them that,
horrible
please.
thing
You
to
need
say.
the help. You gotta think.
I'm
pissed.
Why would anyone have children? That is a horrible thing to say. That's a bad statement.
I'm Amber and I live
This
in
is on
Portland,
what,
Oregon.
YouTube? Yeah.
When I cook, I get
So is this one live now? Yeah. There we go. Now over here. This goes this way. This quick was dry. Then trying to capture the big butt. And this part. Bullets are coming this way. Put that shadow here. And then this has to come in more this way. Bit come that way. Okay, this is so this one goes this way. This is under the breast. This is coming this way. And this goes this way. And those big Oh, wait a minute, this press here. Okay, so we have, goes this way. I gotta adjust our brass. And then over here, okay, I got it. Adjust that. I'm gonna grab the other pencil. Not this one. Not this one. This one is. Oh, this is chocolate too. And this one is what? Oh, that's that. Oh, but this tape broke. I'm gonna get something so I can lay these down. Maybe. In a way that I can keep them there without them falling. How would I do that? Let me see, I could. Yeah, I can do that right there. That works. And then, wait a minute, I know what I can do. So they won't flip over. They won't flip over. I'll do that. Just grab it this way. Oh, but this pencil can't go there. This is a graphite. Graphite. Some more over here. These this one is not the same one. This is also hard, and this one is soft. I got these eraser. This is chalk. See, it's coming this way. This has to come more this way. And this one.
years, she has gone the extra mile to feed those in need. But this Christmas is bittersweet because a longtime Meals on Wheels driver has made his last delivery. Arthur Jackson delivered the final batch of meals this morning. He started with the organization in 1981, working the kitchen and delivering meals. In the 90s, he switched over to spending all his time on the road. Now, after serving some of Chicago's most underserved neighborhoods, he says he's ready for retirement. So his coworkers came out to deliver food to him for a change and to send him off.
That's nice.
I must say it's been bittersweet. It's just like packing up to leave home. I first came in over 40 years ago, and I started working nights, coming in at midnight, and like people, those like family, you know. It's been a nice atmosphere. The owner, the boss, everybody been nice, and I guess the best part was freedom. You load up, you hit the streets, you're on your own. You know what to do, you went out and you did it.
Well, get this, his son is now going to take over his route. Mr. Jackson says he has not decided what he's going to do now that he is retired. He said the first couple of months he'll probably just relax a bit and work around the house. Bob?
So after Senator Joe Manchin said he couldn't support the bill, it's looking at Build Back Better is taking a back seat on Capitol Hill. So what does it mean for Democrats heading into the crucial midterm year? Real Clear Politics' Susan Crabtree is here to discuss, and we're going to do something we never do on Christmas, talk politics and around the Christmas Eve dinner. So I have a highlight here. First,
What are you going to do with
the
that?
latest Fox Business poll said 55% of registered voters say 2021 was a bad year for their family, and 31% say it's a good year for their family. 7 of 10 registered voters say 2021 was a bad year for the country. There's a very personal feelings in those polls there, which could reflect in a vote against an incumbent in some areas, right?
Well, I think the Democrats, it's going to be a tough January for them, and it's going to be a tough year ahead. We already had 23 House Democrats, including 2 chairmen of committees, announce that they're going to retire. And you have a similar reshuffling going on in the Senate. A lot of Democrats and Republicans are announcing their retirements, but Republicans are looking like they're better positioned there as well. As you know, there's only a 50-50 seat difference in the Senate, and there's only 3 House seat difference in the House, so it's going to be, you know, Republicans have the edge. With this Build Back Better in January, you know, President Biden and Chuck Schumer have said they're not giving up hope. I think the Democrats are experiencing different stages of grief here. They were in denial, and then there was anger, a lot of kicking and screaming, and now we seem to have some acceptance that they are finally coming to understand that Joe Manchin, controls this process, and they need his vote so we can start the debate.
Yeah, and they need to be nice to him. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, but so is the president, I'm curious, toxic for Democrat trying to win a seat or hold a seat? Poll numbers show that Americans are not happy about inflation, gas prices, immigration crisis, you know, with the open border and the violence we've seen in the cities. So is he toxic in this next election coming up?
Well, certainly you don't want to be having the poll numbers that you do. It's always difficult for, in the first midterm election for an incumbent president. It's a difficult situation for any, but he's coming into this with very bad poll numbers and 54% disapproval rating. So you're going to have to see, we're going to see a lot of efforts that we saw earlier this week with him trying to reassure the public about COVID. They're coming out with this plan to put 500 million, $500 million tests out there for free for the public. You can see a lot of efforts on behalf of the president to sort of assure Americans that he will
Right. So, Susan, in the last 30 seconds we saw the White House and Democrats make personal attacks against Senator Joe Manchin. Then the tone changed after chatter that Republicans would welcome him into the party. What are the odds that he switches parties?
Well, I've actually spoken to Joe Manchin several years ago about this, and he said, you know, there's really no chance that he's going to do so. He has a really big problem with Republicans on taxes and on other issues. I think this is a lot of wishful thinking. Of course, Mitch McConnell wants to make the overtures. He would be remiss not to do so. But I do think that Joe Manchin knows he's very comfortable in the Democratic Party. He could, if he does anything, go become an independent and caucus with Republicans, and that would really hurt Democrats with
Yeah,
this
but
very
regardless,
thin
he's in the
majority.
driver's seat. Susan, thank you from Real Clear Politics. I really appreciate it. Have a good and Merry Christmas.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Merry Christmas, everyone. We hope you're ready for a holiday extravaganza like never before. We have a huge show coming up, including, backed by popular demand, our Naughty and Nice list, our feeding frenzy with some amazing holiday treats, a festive Christmas edition of The Fastest, plus our annual Secret Santa gift exchange. It's our best one yet. Do not miss it. But first, there's no better way to get into the Christmas spirit than by cutting down your own Christmas tree. And we sent Jesse and Harold out to chop one down like the real men that they are.
We're at the Hidden Pond Tree Farm in Mendham, New Jersey. It's a 5 tradition. We do it every year. We're here with Chris. Chris, what's new?
This year we added a little train ride for the kids that they can take out through the fields. We added a snack bar and bonfire for people with marshmallows.
Yeah, we added Harold Ford Jr.
They're here. They're here moving my car to see the Christmas tree cut down.
Now, Harold's a little older than I am, so is he going to be able to walk up all the way to do this tree, or can we hitch a ride somewhere?
Take the train out.
Oh, the train.
Yeah.
Infrastructure week. This looks like a Gutfeld tree. And it's not that funny, is it? These environmentalist wackos probably don't like the tree farm idea.
Real trees are sustainable. An artificial tree ends up in a landfill for 1,000 years.
And where do the artificial trees come from?
They all come from the same place, China. We have no supply chain issues. Our trees grow here, and they're all grown by real farmers.
Mayor Pete, no supply chain issues right here.
You watch the stall.
Let's smell them first, right? I feel like Joe Biden.
Trees are just like people. It's all about genetics. Some are tall and skinny, some are short and fat.
Harold, it's not the size of the tree that matters.
Let me write that down. How many acres? This farm is 25 acres. And how much? We have 18,000 trees in the ground right now. You have to make sure that you check the water in the stand every single day.
Johnny! Sometimes you get a tree, it looks really nice in the front, and in the back it's trash. That's a nice big one. Should I do the honors? Timber!
Well done.
All right!
Well done, well done. Good job, Jesse.
Thank you very much. Here we go. Harold's never roasted a marshmallow before. We gotta show him how it's done.
This guy's a heck of a tree cutter. You did a great job. You really did.
I did. I'm a little sore.
Yeah. Is there a masseuse here?
Hop one, hop two.
Go through. Get the netting.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we'll have 2 hot ciders, one with bourbon, one without.
Thank you, thank you.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.
Cheers.
This is your first marshmallow roast?
It is, with you.
With me, okay. Are you gonna double up?
I'm gonna double up.
You're gonna double up? All right, I'll double up. Harold,
Yeah.
look at that. Look at that.
Well, you got the hotter.
Look at that.
Okay, look at that.
Let's go back to the office. We got to erect this tree.
We gonna do what with? The best story about all this, American made, and it's contributing to the good side of climate change. Someone forgot a break.
Down the hall.
There we
ago.
Erected. Merry Christmas, everybody. 5 staff, it's time to decorate. Johnny, where are the bells?
Jesse, it was very good. Harold, did you enjoy yourself?
I did. Jesse didn't get me with that salt.
Yeah,
I was worried about
And
it.
roasted a marshmallow too.
I did. First
Tastes
time.
good, right?
First
He burnt his to a crisp. He had to take 2.
Well, that's the whole idea, isn't it?
No, you gotta make it golden brown, Judge.
Yeah, there's a whole strategy to that.
But it did not dissuade me. I came right back at it.
You did,
You
yes.
did?
Your second roast was much better.
Have you bought a bag for yourself since?
I have not. Greg has already told me I went to the wrong camps over summer.
I believe you never roasted a marshmallow. What were you doing as a child? By the way, if you watch that with the sound off, it's like a New York married couple. Two
Hallmark Channel.
Upper West Side men, happily married,
Yeah.
picking out their tree for the 2-room condo.
If there's anything wrong.
No.
Get a little hot chocolate,
Your little Frenchie
marshmallow.
bulldog sleeps under the tree. The best part of the whole thing, though, is the thing that wraps the tree. I mean, what an invention that is. Imagine, why can't they do that for everything? You just put something like wrapping presents.
You know what they need it for?
That's
Is
a good idea.
umbrellas.
Yeah, umbrellas.
Right? When you go in, it's actually, when you're trying to do it yourself, it's not, it's a nice.
Or how about the grocery store?
Yeah, just throw all your crap, and it just goes like this. How about when people pass away, instead of a coffin?
Oh,
You just smash them right in there, and then they shoot them into the ground.
Bad timing.
What?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Greg.
Yeah, people just stop dying around Christmas.
No, they worry about
You
it.
just killed a tree for Christmas.
No, but you know what? The tree doesn't care.
Oh,
But you don't think the tree doesn't have feelings?
it's a conscious being.
Yeah.
Trees
You're a
have
murderer.
feelings.
Yeah, but you know what? But the tree finds love in your house.
That's right, we're on the 21st floor.
Yes.
All right.
I think it has to go through harassment training. The tree.
Don't we all?
Yes.
Over and over again. All right, we're not done with the holiday fun. There's an amazing neighborhood right here in Brooklyn where people take Christmas to the very next level. So Judge Janine and I have to check it out.
Well, there's no better way to get in the Christmas spirit than to come to a neighborhood like Dyker Heights in Brooklyn. The entire neighborhood goes all out and over the top with lights and music and amazing community spirit.
I've never seen so many lights in my life, and that's why so many people come here to kind of share the holiday cheer. Let's check it out.
Beautiful.
100,000 people come through here.
100,000, I believe that. I absolutely do.
It gets you in the spirit.
I am in the spirit.
What do you think of that tree, Judge?
I love that.
It's beautiful.
Do you think they put these things in their basement all year?
I think maybe they have a storage unit, perhaps? Lucy Slaughter, we're here. You started this amazing tradition in Dyker Heights in 1986. What was the inspiration?
Well, I moved here in 1986, and it was a very dead area. Very quiet, and I'm not one for quietness. I started very little, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And everybody caught on.
Do you have any idea what your electric bill is?
It's nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
I want to move to Dyker Heights. Dana, I love this house. I love the architecture. It almost looks like a palace. Like here you are, you drive in from Brooklyn, and then you go up to the palace in Paris.
The Paris of Brooklyn. I love it too. I think it's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. Should we go knock on the door?
Well, what do you think would happen if you knock on the door and then there's Judge Janine?
Do you think they don't want us there?
I think that no trespassing means no trespassing, Judge.
It says...
Also says no junk mail, no flyers, no takeaway menus, and no free newspapers. Thank you.
That doesn't leave me out. I would love. Can we find out who lives here? I'll call.
Yes.
Maybe Castle. I can do my box bacon Castle soon.
Wait, you should do that.
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I will.
Well, I like it that we can add more assignments to your list.
Yeah, why not? I'm not busy. Are you?
Well, this house is beautiful too. What a neighborhood. It's absolutely gorgeous.
This neighborhood is great. Yeah. It really is stunning.
Let's go check out this greenhouse.
Boy, there's a lot of green.
You do the decorating. How many lights do you put on a house like this?
This house has 32,000.
32,000.
32,000 lights?
Oh, 32,000 sets of lights. So Dyker Heights is amazing.
It is.
But one thing that's truly amazing is that when you and I are together, neither of us have to wear high heels.
I love that. We can wear our flats and like we're almost the same height. Yes. Yeah, see, I got flats on. How about you?
I went for the low width.
Yeah.
love this house, and I'll tell you why. I don't know this house, I don't know who lives here, but they took an ordinary tree and they kind of made it look like a mushroom. And they just took little lights. Like, that makes me want to go to Kohl's or Home Depot or Lowe's and get white lights and try it. I'd probably kill myself falling off the limb.
I like that they have the theme of the all white lights. I think that's also good. And the toy soldiers, of course.
Yeah, you can't get in the front door, you know.
No, I guess you can't. Not those big guards. The community spirit in this neighborhood must be something pretty amazing for everybody to come out and do this.
Every year, we just grow more and more, adding more lights, more decorations, just become part of, the fun that takes place in Zeitgeist and Christmas lights.
Well, Judge Janine and I encourage everyone to go. I had no idea that this existed right there in New York, in Brooklyn, and you loved it?
Yeah, I loved it. There were so many people there. It was stunning. I mean, it really is a place that you go to see the Christmas lights. And I still want to know what their bills are, because I got my Con Ed bill. I was ready to hang myself from the tree that they didn't light yet.
No, there you go. Bring it up, Jessica.
How much did your hat cost?
My hat is so old, the hair person here took the knit top out and just plopped it on my head.
You should have worn that hat today on the set.
No, I'm Christmassy enough, as are you.
Have you noticed something missing from Christmas, though? What nobody talks about?
What?
Mistletoe. Mistletoe. That has been Me Too'd out of existence. We don't even talk about it anymore. There's no mistletoe to be found. And it's made in one place. I guess it's in Oregon.
Yeah. Why would that be Me Too'd? Everybody likes to kiss somebody. Whoever you like to kiss them.
Yeah, but you know what?
At the office party?
Yes.
No, I'm thinking of my kitchen.
Mmm.
Who's in your kitchen?
Yes.
Hot up there in the kitchen.
The plumber must be thrilled.
He used to be a cop. He was a great guy.
Good with his hands.
Just keep talking.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
So good evening to you. Welcome to Fox News Primetime. I am Brian Kilmeade, but Brett kind of gave that away. Joe Biden's been running the country for nearly a year, and Americans already having buyer's remorse. Just check out these numbers. You got new polls from PBS. They have said President Biden's approval rating is down to 41%, with 55% disapproving the job he's doing so far. More than half the country are saying no go. And Politico's data not much better, with only 43% approval and 53% disapproval. But perhaps the most surprising poll comes from Rasmussen, where Americans were asked, likely voters, who better represents their view of Donald Trump, or is it their view of Joe Biden? 44% of the voters said Trump speaks for them, with only 31% saying the same for President Biden. How does this happen in just a year? Is it the rampant crime, the illegal immigration, or inflation, or all the above? Now, President Biden's ratings on the economy are the lowest since Jimmy Carter. That goes back to 1977, when the dollar could only be stretched so far. It's starting to feel like the 70s show again in many ways. You had a period of rampant inflation, soaring gas prices, and good Pittsburgh Steelers teams. That makes me feel like it's the 70s. So the Steelers right now, not that great. It seems Americans are fed up with the surging costs.
The difference in the price was shocking.
We're fortunate enough that we can kind of take the hit, but I'm sure it's going to affect us, and maybe we can't pay as much on our credit card bills or something like that.
Gas, food, rent, every single thing. You go to the store, everything's $5 more than it used to be.
Well, that is just man of the street report. So what is the Biden administration's response to these economic failures? Spin, baby, spin. The New York Times published an article today saying that Christmas gifts will arrive on time this season. And that was all the Biden administration team needed to start congratulating themselves. You got Jen Psaki, she took to Twitter to say that Scrooge, the Grinch, and all the other doubters, well, this is good news. They said this couldn't happen, and it did. And not to be outdone, White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain was kind of clever. He tweeted out this message on the supply chain crisis saying, Merry Christmas to all, and to this overhyped narrative, a very good night. So, I guess both of them failed to read the rest of the article because they seemed to miss this line saying this, ... About 100 container ships are waiting off the West Coast to unload cargo. Some of that stuff might be yours. Big ticket items such as cars, used and new, are still hard to find because of a shortage of some critical parts like computer chips, and prices will then, of course, and are currently going sky high. We are still in the middle of a supply chain crisis, despite what they say, and a slumping economy, even if the Biden administration does not want to acknowledge it. And the White House and Democrats are too busy devising a plan to break the filibuster, to change voting and spending forever. Well, joining me now with what we should all be looking forward to in 2022 and not looking forward to is Stephen Miller,
Now they want
former
to
senior
change
advisor
the...
to President Trump and Ohio Congressman
That's
Jim
something.
Jordan. Stephen, let's start with you. Are you surprised at that Rasmussen question? Buyer's remorse for President Biden, perhaps, but they think that President Trump sees more eye to eye with them.
I'm not surprised at all that Americans, by a wide margin, believe that President Trump speaks for them and not President Biden. Because President Trump's agenda is the agenda of the American people. Strong borders, a strong economy, independence from China, independence from foreign countries and the production of our energy, a pro-American trade policy, a pro-cop anti-crime policy. This is the agenda of everyday hardworking citizens, not what we've seen from the Joe Biden administration: open borders, shipping our jobs overseas, relying on foreign countries for energy, coddling criminals, and attacking police officers. All of those policies are soundly rejected by American voters.
Jim Jordan, Congressman of Ohio, I know you're going to be running for re-election next year. We get it, but it's also something that's going to happen before that happens. There is going to be a January of 2022 where Chuck Schumer says he's going to manipulate or massage the filibuster in order to pass election reform. What does he plan to do, and how does he plan to do it?
Well, let's hope he's not successful, and the American people don't want him to be successful with the agenda that he and the Democrats and President Biden have put the country through over the last year. I mean, frankly, the American people want safe streets, affordable gas, and freedom. The Biden administration has given us record crime, record inflation, and Dr. Fauci. And Stephen's right. Maybe the biggest issue, maybe the biggest concern the American people have is what's happening on our border, where you can just walk right in untested, unvaccinated. But if you're an American citizen, in some cities you have to show a card to get a Big Mac, and this is so ridiculous. And you might lose your job if you don't get vaccinated. So this is craziness. Let's hope Schumer's not successful. Let's hope Joe Manchin continues to do what he talked about on Sunday and be against his, quote, Build Back Better plan. And let's focus on the things the American people care about.
Stephen Miller, your reaction to the fact that President Biden yesterday credited Donald Trump's administration, yours, for the vaccine quicker than anybody else, and praised him for saying, I took the booster.
Well, he had no choice but to praise President Trump, because people have pointed out the glaring omission for nearly a year from this administration of pointing out the fact that this vaccine came from the Trump administration. And so, as President Trump himself said, we're glad that President Biden finally, after all these months, has given credit to President Trump for doing so. But here's what upsets me. Here's what I know upsets Congressman Jordan, and should upset all Americans. They're still pushing nonsense mandates on the American people, despite the fact that we have a scientific solution to this. We're still putting masks on toddlers at the direction of the CDC, being deprived of a lifetime of learning experiences that they're going to need in terms of social interaction, development, emotional interaction.
Right.
That's being torn away from these children. It's anti-science, and it's absolutely tyrannical.
And Stephen, it matters because the pressure, I believe, that the administration was getting for people to say, why haven't we got anything antiviral, a treatment, a therapeutic? I had that announcement by Pfizer today saying it is ready and it's approved. Jim Jordan, you're in the news today. It looks like the January 6th committee, who didn't want you on the January 6th committee, might want you in front of them to take questions. What will your reaction be? Will it be the same as Mark Meadows, take a walk, or would you sit down and speak to them?
I mean, we just got the letter today, Brian. We're going to review the letter, but I got to be honest with you. I got real concerns about any committee that will take a document and alter it and present it to the American people, completely mislead the American people like they did last week. And it turns out it looks like it wasn't just one document they did this with. It was other text messages as well. So I got real concerns with that. But I'm focused on the issues you just brought up. I mean, think about this, Brian. In the last 12 months, we went from a secure border to chaos. We went from energy independence to the President of the United States begging OPEC to increase production. We went from safe streets to record crime. We went from stable prices to record inflation. And the world now views us in light of the exit from Afghanistan in a much weaker way and doesn't know if they can count on us. Those are the concerns the American people have, and that's why let's hope they don't change the filibuster. Let's hope they don't pass this Build Back Better thing, and let's hope Republicans win next November.
Yeah, I just know this, Jim. Don't worry about those text messages getting out. I can't see that ever happening with this committee. We'll see. Thank you very much, Jim Jordan, Stephen Miller. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, meanwhile, now turning from one Joe to another Joe. Joe Manchin has become public enemy number one for the left after announcing he was a no vote on the Build Back Better plan, as we just discussed. Now, Manchin was attacked personally in the state of West Virginia universally. Actress Bette Midler, sometime singer, went so far as to say, Manchin sold us out. This is a tweet. He wants us all to be just like his state, West Virginia, poor, illiterate, and strung out. She later apologized, but I'm not accepting. And it's just not Hollywood trash in the Mountain State, as Congressman Jamal Bowman decided to make this whole issue about race.
It's tremendously frustrating for me as a black man in America because once again, it's an example of Joe Manchin as a white man showing that he doesn't care about black people, he doesn't care about Latinos, he doesn't care about immigrants, he doesn't care about women, and he doesn't care about the poor.
What? Here to respond is the governor of that great state, a former Democrat himself, getting ready to coach a great basketball game, high school basketball team, but stopping with us first. Jim Justice, thanks so much for joining us. I want you to answer those people who decided to rip your senator and rip your state.
Brian, there's no call for it. In all honesty, it's not tolerated, just period. You know, from the standpoint of what Senator Manchin did, he stepped up. He stepped up and echoed the people of West Virginia. The people of West Virginia are hard-working people. The people of West Virginia know what this country is all founded around. It's not founded around socialism. It's not founded by the promotion of something that is so awry that it doesn't make one bit of sense. It's founded upon Americans not being average. And with all of that and everything, through all the decades of time, America has risen to the top, have we not? And we're not going to slip back. And Joe Manchin, we are very proud of his vote and everything to stop this terrible, terrible carnage that's happening from Washington. But nevertheless, we hope Joe stands tall. And from the standpoint of Bette Midler, you know, all I would say is shame on her. I mean, really and truly, to call West Virginians illiterate and to say that we're strung out and poor, and when West Virginia is leading the way over and over and over, and whether it be in the COVID, you know, call, or whether it be, you know, in leading the way, becoming a diamond in the rough that everybody's missed. We're pumping out surplus after surplus in this state beyond belief. The lowest unemployment rate in the history of our state. Absolutely, one thing right after another, whether it be leading in tourism, diversification, on and on and on. And for Bette Midler to say that, it is just plain not tolerable.
So, Governor, you were on with us when you decided I'm no longer going to be a Democrat, I'm going to be a Republican. And your state every year gets more and more red. You're at 40. Donald Trump, I think, won your state by 40 points. What's your message to Joe Manchin about the party you're in now as opposed to the party he's in now?
Well, the party that he's in now, nobody can understand. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, if you look at what's happening with President Biden, look at what's going on at the border. Look what's going on in Afghanistan, what happened in Afghanistan. Look what's going on with crime, and look at the explosion of inflation that's eating all of our lives right now. We just did a thing in West Virginia the other day where we're going to try to pass another, unprecedented 5% pay raise to all of our state employees, teachers, everybody. But not only that, we're going to do it 2.5%. And I'm going to mispronounce this, but inflatocin, which is basically a vaccine for inflation, you know, to be able to give a one-time inflatocin to all of our state employees.
So the Greenbrier East High School girls basketball team, you'll be coaching them shortly. You're in the locker room right now. You're at win 499 after opening up the season 5-0. Are those girls around you that you think we can actually get a look at this team who you're commanding? I think you're about 6'7" yourself. So, do we see this team? Can you zoom out?
They're absolutely here, and we got to get ready to coach a game, Brian. And I love the kids, and
The reality is it's a pyramid. Oh. What is this? 7 hours ago. This press has to. Because this press, if I do it this way,
the pyramid itself is like the core of it is limestone, and the focal chamber in it was made from a very special stone, yellow transparent quartzite. And the focal chamber itself weighs around 120 tons, made out of a single solid piece of this fine type of stone. And also there is a extraordinary tunnel system inside this pyramid, including what they call secret sliding doors. That when they entered this one, it was accessible. They found that in the end of the tunnel there is a chamber, but there is no exit. But then they found that the exit is actually in the ceiling. And then they went through the ceiling to another tunnel, to another chamber that also had another sliding door in the ceiling, until they reached the focal chamber, and they found also that the sliding door of it is made from the same type of stone, yellow transparent quartzite. A sliding door that weighs over 40 tons. Just by opening a door, a sound like thunder will be generated from that labyrinth. And then if we understand the abilities of sound, then we will know what kind of force helped these sliding doors that weigh 40 tons and more to be able to slide, because with vibration it can easily be moved. So we might not look at the mud brick here as a cheaper material or something, or easier way, because that focal chamber is, I don't know actually where you can find
Yellow transparent.
yellow transparent quartzite with that size and single solid piece, and then you're going to house it and then cover it with mud. Then you're not really showing the bigger chamber inside.
This site is called Hawara, and it's from the Middle Kingdom of Egypt.
Let me see. I think I just saw somebody write something. Where am I going? This message is out for review. What is the message? I don't even know what they're saying. And then also, I wanna do some public. Let me make sure the video is public. Yeah, it is public. Okay. It's public. Yeah, 2 people wrote something here. I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. But they wrote F you. These people, oh my God. People got nothing better to do. They got nothing better to do than you must have the intelligence of a dummy or yeah, it's probably that. Gotta have the intelligence of a dummy. Yeah, intelligence of a dummy. Yeah. Because like, what do you say such things to someone you don't even know? Either you're an angry person, your life is horrible, and That's evidence right there. That's evidence right there. They have no education. Why would you get mad at someone? Hmm? That'll, he's jealous. I will never do such a thing. Say that to someone that I don't know. I will never do something like that. You got people on the internet also that are kids. And this is not even a drawing, this is a sketch. Not real. This is not even a full. It's not a drawing, it's a sketch, a quick sketch. I mean, just because you don't like the content, don't watch it. Go somewhere else. Let me get the person's name. One is a Russian guy. And he can't even write because he doesn't know what the hell. What to write. Okay, open. fake web page. Someone that likes this broad that made a web YouTube page with her name. So if they make the YouTube page with her name, I should be able to come over here and do this. This is that channel, which is a fake channel. Fake channel. They made the channel November 21st. Oh wow. People make fake channels. I think this is a fake channel, and then this one. Another fake channel. Joined September 21st. Oh, please. Another fake channel. Okay, let's see this one. One channel.
Alice. Mala.
You can tell this is stupid channel. I mean, who the hell posts something like this in their channel?
Нервов у меня, мальчики. Осталось мало.
This is stupid. These are dumb people. These are dumb people. Matter of fact, what I should do is see all these people. So I went to that web page. All different people, all different videos. Okay. What is this? History. Okay. But the thing is, what is it? Oh, here it goes. Oh, look at this. Holy shit. All these people. Interested in the This is also a briefing at the same time. What? The Great Pyramid of Truth. How is this together with my video? Can't be. Okay, there you go. Alright. So we'll come back and fix something here. And adjust a few things. And all this is dark. I gotta adjust this little by little. This is orange shadow. I gotta get a dark charcoal for that. Just wanted to get the proportions correct. But I got the proportions correct. I can adjust values from here. Tomorrow is what? Okay, today's Friday. Tomorrow is Saturday. This is a final. I get it. That's in the corner. Oh, that's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion. Do 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 do. Okay, where's this? Oh, it's still over there. Oakland. And this is this guy that likes to.
Just like the hurts, you died to get it again. We are so far from you, burning on, just like the match you strike to incinerate the lives of everyone you know. And what's the worst you take from every heart you break? And like the blade you stain, well, I've been holding on tonight. What's the worst that I can say? Things are better if I stay. So long and good night. So long and good night. Came a time when every star fall brought you to tears again. We are the very hurt you sold. And what's the worst you take from every heart?
What is this one? Life on Mars. Let's see what this one is.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair. But her mommy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go. But her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through a sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view. and she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a saddening bore, 'cause she's seen it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools as they ask her to focus on sailors.